Woohoo!
Woohoo! Welcome, misfits, to our Skeptic Bible Study episode. Whew, it was an exodus. Tonight, Bedazzle makes some fabulous new robes for priest. The people bring God more stuff, and we set up a tabernacle worth burning a fire for.
Another one?
Another one? Ugh, he loves his tabernacles. So come join us for some fun, Yahweh style. Woohoo! I want to thank everyone for joining us out there on the inner tubes. If you're feeling fancy, don't forget to like and subscribe and follow. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Gilbert so he can explain what we're about to read.
Some of you may be new to this abomination of a study. These schmucks begin by reading each episode's chapters along with the annotations on the side for funsies. The hosts are a tiny bit special, so don't mind if they butcher or replace everybody's name with something completely horrible or stupid. However, the gibberish that spews forth from their face holes will still be an attempt at reading this book from cover to cover, which I'm sure has tons of wisdom or an insight on whether we can or cannot put things up our butt. If you have time to waste screaming internet memes at random strangers, then join the Discord. Or scream at them personally at your YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch streams. Finally, don't forget to support these idiots doing more lame shenanigans at Amy Newman's Patreon page. All right, schmucks, back to you.
Thanks, Gilbert.
Thanks, Gilbert. And that's right, you can find our Patreon page at patreon.com/Amy Newman, which helps us make even more content, including awesome Patreons like K.O. Champ and Oz from the Atheist Roundtable. You gotta really put that right in the end there.
And Tang.
And Tang. But that's how you make the table. You make that whole stuff. But also, Ian Davenport. Thank you, Ian.
Thank you.
And a grumpy old cuss. But also, Diana Smith.
Thanks, guys.
Thank Diana. And newest, thank you so much, Pat Lowinger. Woo-hoo.
Oh, Pat. Thanks so much, man. Appreciate
Lastly,
it.
don't forget to like, follow, or subscribe, and hit that all button icon so you can get reminders to see our premieres or join our live streams. And okay, before we begin, let's see what's on the menu. Before we begin, I'm going to start by going over the specific Bible we'll be reading, along with some helpful category marks. Categories, you say? Why, yes, I do. You see, we're going to be reading from the Skeptic's Annotated Bible, an entire King James Bible lovingly fawned over by a skeptic who decided he would add his own notations. These are little flagpoles of sanity put in use to remind us that, hey, maybe slavery is evil, including categories like absurdity, injustice, and cruelty, but also a good amount of intolerance, contradictions, and conflicts with science or history. That doesn't mean it's not packed full of misogyny, false prophecy, and some questionable biblical family values. Now, we won't skip the good parts that the Bible has, only that these passages seem far fewer in number than any priest or pastor seems to suggest. So without further ado, won't you come join the Skeptic crew?
Here we go.
And so with that, welcome to our Skeptic Bible Study.
Come on, come on.
Come one, come on.
Your volume sounds a little low on my end, or is that just me?
I don't know. Does that sound better? Maybe I'll talk, huh?
Not really.
Not really?
They'll tell you in the
Hold
chat
on
if it's okay for them.
I thought the gain was on the back, but that's not the gain. How about now? No, I don't know. Okay. Tell me in chat if it's a little bit too low. They say I'm good right now. Oh, we lost James. But that's okay. He got summoned by Satan every once in a while. We share timeshares for hell. It's a good, right next to the screaming of the damned, which is always a lovely view. And welcome back. All right, previously on the last episode, Basil, Aleb, build White Castle. The dynamic duo set out on an adventure, making God as much stuff as humanly possible.
But never enough.
But never enough. And in fact, this episode proves that, because tonight on It Was an Exodus, Basil makes a fabulous set of holy garments for priests. People bring God more stuff, and then they set up a tabernacle worth having a bonfire over.
Well, that sounds amazing.
And that's going to bring us into the last two exciting chapters
We're done.
Of the
We're
book
done
of
with
Exodus.
Can you believe it? We're done with Exodus.
It is amazing.
It seemed like just yesterday we were talking about the first Pharaoh bling bling, then the second, then the third.
It seemed like just yesterday that the third Pharaoh forgot who everyone was, decided to enslave the Jews again, and then all the firstborn Egyptian sons died because of a hardened Pharaoh's heart.
And then remember when he lovingly drowned all those guys in the Red Sea. Don't forget about that one.
Oh, well, he does love drowning people. That also tends to be his thing. Now, he said he would never do it again, though he said he would never drown the world again.
Right.
So, gotta read those terms of service, people.
He's not swearing off it forever, just not on a worldwide scale.
Just not on a worldwide scale. Yeah, you gotta, to think killing everybody over and over again would be boring. You gotta kill smaller amounts of people in more interesting ways.
There you go. As you do. Praise God.
Praise be the Jeebus. I'm wondering where my little sleepy time doll. Here she is. And okay, we're right off to the categories. It's a wonderful mix of peanut butter and chocolate. It is both a hilarious chapter, so send those emojis to get the demons out. But as the Bible often is, it's edge on your seat excitement, as you can see from the little doll. So let's find out how Bedazzle makes holy garments for priests.
Again?
Oh my.
Did we do that with the girdle and the breastplate?
I thought that R and Ra had like an entire chapter on this.
He did.
Him. Yeah.
God
but
loved it so
apparently
much, he wanted to do it again. More Sims
He
2.0.
wanted 2 scoops of holy garments for priests. And okay, we are into the book of Exodus, chapter 39, and we'll send in love to everyone in chat. If you want your comments read specifically on screen, don't forget to tag me at Amy Newman. I'll see it regardless of we're in YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook. And okay, book of Exodus, chapter 39. Bedazzle makes holy garments for priests. Ooh, I can hear some of that. And of the blue and purple and scarlet, of course, we're back to all the colors again. Has to have as many colors for priests as we can. They made cloths of service to do service. Oh my. In the
That kind of
holy
service?
place. Yes. I remember when you and I had to do service in the holy place. Oh my.
That was fun.
That was fun, indeed. And made the holy garments for R and Ra. It was for R and Ra.
Again? Yay. Aaron Ra will be so excited. He gets more holy garments. Yay.
Once again, I am a little bit surprised how much the Bible is at being fashionistas. But hey, we all have our things, right? As the Lord Bob commanded, Charlton Heston. This is his chapter. This has been his time to shine.
At least he didn't command Darth Tangelo. That would be scary.
And he made the ephod of gold, blue, and purple, and scarlet, and fine twined linen. Wow. He has a better wardrobe than I do.
He's like trying to recreate that coat of many colors thing.
We're going to have, God actually said specifically that we need to have gold and blue and purple and scarlet. Oh, God said that, did they? Yes, God said it. I know it's expensive, but God said it.
And he said I can sell my daughter into slavery. Yay!
Biblical morality. Oh, the fun we shall have. And they did beat the gold into thin plates, Kinky, and cut it into wires to work it into blue and in the purple. And
usually when the Bible talks about beating, it's not gold. It's usually a person getting beat. So it's nice to see that there's nobody being beaten to death.
Yes, this time we are just beating colors, apparently. Just beat the gold into blue, beat it into purple. I don't know how that works. We'll pretend that makes sense. And in the fine linen and cutting work, they made shoulder pieces for it. Once again, this is getting a little bit
shoulder
MMO-y.
pads.
Yeah.
Make him look like he's got big, bulky shoulders. He doesn't want to look like a little twerp in the priest uniform.
If you're going to be a priest, you at least kind of want to look badass. The paladins get to look badass. The warriors get to look badass. The priests, come on. They want to have something too.
Aaron Ra, didn't his uniform have a bonnet too? Aaron Ra in a bonnet and a girdle. I mean, that's pretty badass right there. That would put terror into just about anybody's heart.
And it was a curious girdle. So at least I feel like that's what got it through it.
Like if you committed a sin and you've got to go tell Aaron Ra with a bonnet and the curious girdle on, you're going to think twice about doing that again.
I feel so Catholic traditionalist, we do open up the even our Bible studies, but it's at the end of the chapters. So we're going to read the 2 chapters and then you can tell us then where we went wrong.
Praise Darth Dawkins.
We're going to just try and we'll replace some of the names and stuff, but we're just going to read it literally. But if you hang around, you can tell us where we're idiots. Do. Mana. Okay, wires, they made shoulder pads to couple it together by two edges was a couple together. Okay, so Basil made holy garments for priests out of blue, purple, and scarlet cloths as God commanded Moses. He made the ephod from gold, blue, purple, and scarlet, fine linen with cunning work. Woohoo! All right, moving along. And
here we go. Right
there. The Bible does it to me. And the curious girdle, we all went through that stage. Of this ephod that was upon it was of the same according to the work thereof. Dunk, dunk, dunk. Of gold, blue, purple, and look, bitch, you better have scarlet too. I said gold, I said blue, I said purple, I said scarlet.
We only have turquoise. We don't have purple.
Look, he's God. It says fine linen.
Then can he make it himself? I'm about to die, aren't I? I'm about to die, right? Yeah.
This is where the lightning bolts are supposed to hit us. All right. And fine twined linen as the Lord Bob commanded Charlton Heston. And they wrought onyx stones. Oh, I love when they talk about stones. Enclosed in ouches. Ouch. Where did I keep the onyx stone? In the ouch.
In your ouch. Oh. I guess that's when you keep it in an orifice and, it kind of hurts when you take it out.
First of all, kinky. Second of all, I'll take it. Gold graven as signets are graven with the names of the children of Ishmael, Shmishmael. He engraved onyx stones with the names of Jacob's sons and put them on the shoulders of the ephod as God commanded Moses. Okay. The kitty wants me to open the door. Hold on 1 second.
It's okay. We love kitties here.
Yeah. Pain in my butt. Okie dokie. What number?
I think we were on 9.
9. Okay, it was 407 years ago. They made the breastplate double.
Double. Wow. Oh. Double D's.
2 scoops. I always love it when we get 2 scoops. A span was the length then whereof, and a span the breadth thereof, being double mint gum. It was a square, a span on a side, and folded. I mean, this has better instructions than IKEA manual sometimes. It's so specific.
Yeah, better than like IKEA. Yeah, trying to put furniture together.
And they set in 4 rows. Oh, man. Okay. At a certain point, they say stone's enough time. I have to get my props.
Don't do it.
Yes. I got it.
A rock? Oh, Grandpa.
And he made the breastplate of cunning. Oh, okay. We doubled that, and they set it 4 rows of stone. All right. The first row was a sardis. I wanted to say sardine, but we'll take
that. That works better.
A sardine, a topaz, and a carbuncle. This was the first row. Sure, why not? There was a second row.
Yay!
Wow. This is more specific than Pokemon. Okie dokie. An emerald, a sapphire, and a diamond, all through 3rd generations. It was fantastic.
Yes. Diamonds are a girl's best friend. Apparently a god's best friend, too.
And the 3rd row, because there has to be a 3rd row, I'm going to go with liquor and a agate and a amethyst.
Amethyst, yeah.
Amethyst. And the 4th row, a beryl.
Okay, this is just overkill now.
How many rows do you need? And do they all
4.
have to be different?
1 for each of the tribes, the 12 tribes of Dan.
Oh man, he's
The
my
tribe of
favorite.
Dan.
I miss Dan already. I was watching. I think it was one of the Tonight shows where they said they're making fun of how Deborah just doesn't sound like a biblical name, and apparently they're. I think we read a Deborah in here. The names we find good names, and the fourth row, a Benadryl, a onyx, a jasper. They were enclosed of ouches of gold in their enclosings, and the stones were according to the names of the children of Israel Shmishmael. 12 of them. James, was it 11?
I don't think so.
Was it
Couldn't
13?
be No, it could not be 13.
You're
It had to be
freaking
12.
right. According to their names, like the engravings of a signet. Everyone with his name according to the 12 tribes. Man, we're getting a little bit Games of Thrones-y, but okay. Each stone was engraved with the name of the one of the 12 tribes of Israel. And they made upon the breastplate chains at the ends of the brethren work of pure gold. Why does all this need to be made out of gold? And
What else are you going to make it out of?
I guess you're priests. You gotta look.
This is for Aaron Ra. Spare no expense. Come on.
Spare no expense. And they made 2 ouches of gold and 2 gold rings. Ooh.
And 12 days of Christmas. And a partridge in a pear tree.
And a partridge in a pear. Ouch. And put the 2 rings in the 2 ends of the breastplate. This almost sounds like sorcery.
Sense. That makes sense. 2 rings on the end. Okay. What a wise God this is. Only God could think of that.
Actually, this only makes sense in 2 things. You're either doing sorcery or you're doing a crafting system. I'm going to put a breastplate here, and I'm going to put 2 rings here, and I'm going to combine. Oh, yeah, baby.
Or if you combine PCP with Valium and then drink about an eighth of Jack, I bet that would make sense then, too.
Then everything would make sense.
Praise God. Hey, Oz.
We are apparently going shopping for God in God's name. And they put 2 brethren chains of gold in the 2 rings on the ends of the breastplate, and the 2 ends of the 2 brethren chains they fastened in 2 ouches and put them in the shoulder pieces of ephod before it.
Look what this Bible has highlighted for you. It is really just, they know what you're... Look at the highlighted words.
The curious. They really like that curious girdle. And they made 2 rings of gold and put them on the 2 ends. Oh, okay, I did read it. Upon the border of it, which was on the side of the ephod inward. And they made 2 golden rings and put them on the 2 sides of the ephod underneath toward the forepart of it, over against the other coupling thereof, above the curious girdle of the ephod. Oh my.
Right above the girdle. It's getting hot.
Right above the girdle. How do you know that a girdle is curious? That's what I want to know.
Only Aaron Ra would know.
Only Aaron Ra. And did they bind the breastplate by his rings onto the rings of the ephod of a lace of blue? Oh my. That it might be above the curious girdle of the ephod. Does that imply that there are girdles that aren't curious? Like there's a girdle on the couch, and like the girdle comes around just like, God, Bob.
This is a special girdle.
Never curious.
Yeah, this is a special girdle.
Special. 2
It's
more.
It's like the opposite of the super straight girdle. It's the curious girdle. Flexible
curious girdle. A flexible girdle. Oh my. It's a girdle that he's in college, or she, either one.
Experimenting. Yeah.
Experimenting. They did bind the breastplate by his rings onto the rings, the ephod of lace of blue, oh my, that it might be above the curious girdle of ephod, not below. It's above. Definitely. It's a top. And the breastplate might not be loose.
Because we know what's below the girdle. So,
oh my.
Yeah. You can't go below down there.
And that the breastplate might not be loosed from the ephod. It has to be tight. Is that what you're trying to tell us, curious girdle? It's a weird
It has
demand.
to be tight in your anus.
Woohoo! As the Lord Bob commanded, Charlton Heston. The breastplate was bound, as you do, by the rings of ephod with blue lace, as you do, above the curious girdle, as you do, of the ephod, as God commanded Moses. Okie dokie. And he made the robe of ephod of woven work, olive blue, specifically that color. And there
Royal
was
blue, light blue, dark blue, sky blue, or just any kind of blue. Okay.
It was a transcendent blue. It transcended all blues. And he made the robe of the ephod of woven work, olive blue, and there was an hole.
Ooh.
There was just a hole in the midst of the robe. Oh, I see where this is going. As the robe... I know, this is just softcore.
Go. I mean, yeah. Go. Just go. Do it to me.
Robe it to me. As the whole of an
glory hole.
Curious hole. Haberd gone with a band round about the hole. That it should not rend.
Is this like so Arn Ra could go to the bathroom without having to take the girdle off? Is that what I'm imagining? But yeah.
Ooh. It's where they start with a robe, and by the end, there's, I believe, one of them found out there was a hole, and they're like, well, the hole was there, and it was of fine linen, and so
I had to try and stick something into it.
Something
I had no choice.
One thing led to another, and now he's my husband. All right, moving along. And they made upon the hems of the robe pomegranates of blue, very specific, and purple, and scarlet, and twined linen. Does anyone remember this in their Hebrew school or their, what is it called, Sunday school? Their Sunday school? I don't think so. And they made bells of pure gold and put the bells between the pomegranates. Excuse me?
Bells between the pomegranates.
I'm not sure if I'm hoping these aren't euphemisms. You know, these are just analogies or literal interpretations. Upon the hem of the robe, round about between the pomegranates. So Bezel made a blue robe of the ephod with a hole in it and a band around the hole so it wouldn't tear. You do you. A bell and a pomegranate. A bell and a pomegranate. Why does the Bible, why does it do that? Why does it say it twice? We can't edit this book, right? So
it really wants to make sure you understand it because it's important, so it says it twice. I guess it's very important.
You must understand how much I want you to read a bell and a pomegranate. I'm gonna make those bitches read it twice. Make sure they
pomegranate. No, yeah, that's right, bitch. A bell and what? And what? And what?
And a pomegranate. That's right. Hey, gotta drink that pomegranate juice. All right.
Tattoo that shit on your hand. Don't forget it.
Yeah, sometimes when I am in a deep, dark place, when I'm not sure if I'm gonna make it, I say to myself, a bell and a pomegranate And it gets me through. It gets me through.
You could even hold in your hand a bell in one hand and a pomegranate in the other hand, and just marvel on the wonder of God that He created these wonderful, useful things.
I also didn't know that the Bible was such a endorsement deal of pomegranate. Good juice. Yeah.
They probably have to pay royalties to God too, like the guy who sang the Dukes of Earl.
Now I just want to it's what is it called? The combo I didn't know I needed. Moses, and when everyone is dying, I get thirsty and I go for palm when everyone's dying. Okay, moving along.
And then they make a golden calf, and then I kill like 3,000 of them.
Exactly. Oh, silly golden calves. In D&D terms, it's a +3 girdle of divination and persuasion. I'm
I don't know what
starting
that means,
to think.
but it sounds hot.
No, I'm starting to see it. I'm starting to. The more I read the Bible, the more I'm starting to see where D&D. I'm telling you, this is the first. I don't want to say MMO, but they got the Curious Girdle going on here. It's a good RPG. They got priests, they got warriors, and they made coats of fine linen of woven work for Aaron Ra. How nice of them, very specifically for Aaron Ra and his sons. Oh, and a mirt of fine linen and goodly bonnets of fine linen and linen breeches of fine twin linen.
He's got breeches on.
He's got his breeches. He's got his +3 curious girdle. And as the Lord commanded Moses. Thank you. Why does he keep on giving all these colors? Why does it have to be of fine linen of blue and of purple and scarlet? It has to be of needlework.
It's very important to him.
Very specific.
Like in the churches today, of course, they decorate their churches and everything according to the instructions of God, because if it's going to be a church of God, it's got to be set up exactly the way He would want it set up, or it doesn't count.
And they still spend all this time on, more on nice clothing than giving that money to the poor. But that aside, I wonder how many people actually follow these type of biblical prescriptive Sims clothing laws, D&D laws. I don't know.
I don't think very many, and that's probably a good thing.
Yes, well, I think this is where we get into. I mean, the whole next few books are just nothing but but that's the Old Testament. You silly atheist. That's the Old Testament. But the 10 Commandments, well, did I say the Old Testament? I meant the Old Schmestament. The Old Testament doesn't count with the
All right, I just got pulled down to hell. The devil is really upset. So, yeah. You know how he gets.
Trying to sell those timeshares.
You haven't sacrificed any babies today. You haven't. Yeah, he's upset.
I'm sorry. It had to come to this. We got to sacrifice animals. I'm sorry. And back to his prescriptions of clothing. I feel like this is him going to an old age mall. God is all right. Well,
the geriatric bus.
Yeah, I want clothing of fine twine linen, and I want them to be scarlet, and I want them to be made of gold. But what if they're out of gold?
They're not out of gold.
I said I want linens of fine twined gold. And they're like, okay, God, right, yep, mm-hmm. Okay, so moving along through the Sims and D&D combination.
Like you take your 90-year-old great-grandmother to Burger King and she goes up and orders like something that's completely not even remotely on the menu, and you just tell them, just give her the number one. Don't worry about it.
I know that she's asking for liverwurst. Just give her a burger and we'll move her along.
Yeah, filet mignon with béarnaise sauce, but yeah.
And so Pat says these are colors that were expensive in the ancient world. This is about expense, not the color. And yeah, it sounds like they're trying to show off. They're trying to say, you
could tell with the gold and the fine the stones and everything, yeah.
And so yeah, they're trying to separate, the chaff. They're trying to say, you guys are the priests. My priests better be wearing some nice stuff, okay? I don't want you representing. Yeah, you're not representing no like sub-tier god here. This is like the god with the capital G, okay? So let's get some capital G gold. Yeah.
Only the best for Aaron Ra.
Exactly. Woohoo!
Normalize atheism.
Send and love to Pasta and Oz and Skywatcher and Pat and God equals the root and everyone in chat. I'm just looking out there and okay, we're almost done the first chapter, which seems like a big laundry list. And they made the plate of holy crown of pure gold and wrote upon it writing likes to the engravings of a signet. Holiness to the Lord.
Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. Amen.
We get it, God. You're holy. We get it. And they tied onto it a lace of blue, kinky, to fasten it on high upon the mitra as the Lord Bob commanded Charlton Heston. So they made a holy gold crown and engraved holiness to the Lord upon it. They tied the crown to the lace of blue and fastened it onto the mitra as God commanded Moses. Thus was all the work of the tabernacle. They love their tabernacles. Of the tent of the congregation finished. It's a nice ass tabernacle.
Finally, we're done.
I think this will be where everything goes well. And the children of Israel Shmishmael did according to all the Lord Bob commanded Charlton Heston. So did they. When building the tabernacle, the children of Israel did everything according to the commands that God gave to Moses. So they are not saying, but just the Old Testament. They live in it. All right. The people bring more stuff. Wait, the people bring more stuff, God. Yep, that is how that is written. Okay. Making sure I'm not hallucinating.
See, we got some, what do we got here? Hilarity and boredom.
Dude. It's like peanut butter and chocolate.
You're going to laugh, and then you're going to sleep.
You're going to laugh, and it's going to have you clearly on the edge of your seat. So we are reading, if you've just joined us, welcome to our Skeptic Bible Study. It was an Exodus. Oh my, was it? And they brought the tabernacle onto Charlton Heston. He loves his tabernacles. The tent, if you didn't know what we were talking about, and all his furniture, his tacks, his boards, his bars,
his taxes,
his Super Nintendo, and his pillars, and his sockets. Oh, baby, whatever gets you going at night. And the covering of rams. Oh, boy. Skins dyed red. And the covering of a badger skins.
Dodge Ram. Guts, glory, Ram. Sam Elliott.
and the veil of the covering, the ark of the testimony. They love their arks, and the staves thereof, and oh, you could say it. What is it, James? And the
What verse are we on? Oh, I lost my
35.
place. I'm trying to look on my phone.
Oh,
the mercy seat. Yay.
Yes. And we come to the mercy seat, the table and all the vessels thereof, and the shewbread.
What kind of bread?
The shewbread.
A shoe bread?
So they brought the
with the shittim wood?
Yeah, with the shittim wood. What a combo. They brought the tabernacle tent, furniture, tacks, boards, bars, pillars, and sockets, coverings of ram skins dyed red, badger skins and veil, arc staves, mercy seats. We're just listing shit. Okay. The pure candlestick with the lamps thereof, even with the lamps to be set in order, and all the vessels thereof, and
even
the
those
oil,
lamps?
Even
those?
lamps. For the light, and the gold altar, and the anointing oil. Oh, I've seen this. I've seen this one on Pornhub too. And the sweet incense, and the hanging for the tabernacle door.
That's what they hang on the door.
It wasn't a careful altar. It wasn't a soothing altar. This was a friggin' brazen altar. That damn brazen altar.
It's so brazen.
And his grate of brass, his staves, and all his
grate
vessels.
Of ass.
Oh my. And all his vessels, the laver, and his foot.
And his foot, wow. Okay.
And his foot.
Like opening up your dresser drawer and finding somebody's foot in there. Like, oh, okay, it's a foot.
So we have gold, we have fine lidded, and we have Bob's foot. Okay.
Bob's like, I don't need it anymore. God can have it.
Take it.
I'll just hobble around on one foot.
The hangings of the court, his pillars and his sockets, and the hanging of the court gate, his cords and his pins, and all the vessels of his service, the tabernacle for the tent of the congregation, the cloths of service to do service in the holy place. Oh my, I know what you do in the holy place. And the holy garments for Aaron Ra, the priest, and his sons' garments to minister in the priest's office.
Oh, that's what they're calling ministering?
Yeah, is that what they're calling
it? Is that what they call it in the Catholic Church too? Let me minister to you, boy.
That has been basically where my mind has been the entire time. Every time they go to, we need to have fancy priest robes and all this shit. It's like, do you really? Do you really? Okie dokie. According
they don't stay on very long, especially in the Catholic Church.
They're criminals. Okay. According to all the Lord, Bob commanded Charlton Heston, so the children of Israel and Ishmael made all the work. And Charlton Heston did look upon all the work. And he was like, behold, they had done it. You guys had done it. Good job. As the Lord Bob had commanded. Even so they had done it, and Moses, Charlton Heston, blessed them. Oh, is that what they're calling it nowadays?
Otherwise, you would have killed a bunch of them, so lucky for them. They got it right.
Yeah. And okay. That brings us to the end of the book of Exodus, chapter 39.
39 out of 40.
You just said 39 out of 40.
39 out of 40. One more to go.
Woohoo! And what do you think? Bedazzle makes holy garments for priests. Did the wisdom?
Yeah. I mean, we just read an entire chapter about this, like 5 chapters ago. Why they wanted to redo the whole thing again with the garments, I don't know, but it must be some reason.
Had to double down on the garments. Had
to
make
loved it
sure.
So much. It's like the Genesis 1, like the creation. Like he went through one narrative, then he had to go through another narrative just to make sure we got it right the first time, even though a few things didn't really make sense the way that they lined up. But hey, Bible has no contradictions, right? No contradiction. No.
A contradiction in the Bible?
I mean, Ken Hovind says there's none, so.
And okay, never Bible DVD, and there's no contradiction in the Bible.
Well, he's got a DVD about supposed Bible contradictions. We'll have to take a look at that one day. Yeah. Supposed biblical contradictions.
And okay, we are moving on to the last chapter in the book of Exodus, which will bring us to the end of the second book of the Bible. We're moving along.
And I know you are amped up to get into Leviticus because that's got some special things in there just for you.
I hear Leviticus is a real bucket full of laughs. Let's just put it that way. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah. Lots of death sentences. Lots of, but that's fun, right?
Exactly. Come on. I hear it has both a good combination of do and uh-oh.
Yeah. He hasn't really messed with gay people since that whole Sodom thing, but don't worry, he's going to start amping that up again in Exodus or Leviticus.
And if you disagree with anything we've been talking about, once again, we just got one more chapter to go through, and then you can tell us.
If you love Darth Dawkins, if you think he is just the best, greatest guy in the world, and we've got him all wrong, come and tell us about it.
That's right. And okay, the book of Exodus, chapter 40, setting up the tabernacle. And once again, peanut butter and chocolate combo, both of just laughter and on edge excitement.
I mean, they probably would have gone to chapter 41, but the scribes fell asleep, so they just decided to end it here.
It's amazing that someone actually sat down and wrote all this. I mean, I give props that
they had to be getting paid.
3,000, 4,000. The impressive thing isn't that someone was able to do this. It's that it's just the taking of it literally. Like, they had an excuse. They lived 3,000 plus years ago. But people today, with modern science and all that, that's what kills me.
Most of this stuff was written probably in the 7 to 800 BC, right in that area. So, yeah, just shy of 3,000 years ago.
Yeah, and so it makes sense. Like, I'm not ragging on the fact that we even had written language is amazing. That's not what I'm making fun of. What we're making fun of is that, or rubbing very lightly, is that once again, you atheists are taking this literally. No, you fundamentalists, which we love, and you are my brothers and sisters.
They take it literally.
You're taking it literally. We're just reading it.
I mean, if you're telling me you can take the genealogies of the dukes and you can ascribe an age of the earth from that, that's pretty literally. That's pretty damn literal. Wouldn't you say that?
And that I could not understand a more attempted literal interpretation, because you really can't have a literal interpretation, because the Bible has specific passages that seem to make itself vague. Like, it was probably like 1,000 or something.
Intentionally vague.
Yes, and so, but once again, it is like, just like I like, and they're going to take this as an insult, but I like Harry Potter. I like Lord of the Rings. I actually view them, once again, that's supposed to be not an insult, but a compliment. It is the literal acceptance and interpretation. If someone were to try and legislate based on that,
tell you Harry Potter was real.
Problem. And I understand that people will take that as an insult. How dare you tell me my holiness of holiness is in comparison of that? But to the atheist, that is really a compliment. So really, I guess it depends on what side of the
it's like
fence or the green grass.
It's like when they asked the government to, back in like 2011, to build a Death Star. They actually sent a petition into the White House to build a Death Star, and they calculated the cost of steel. Just the steel would be like, I don't know, 1,000 years of the entire world GDP.
Oh,
and you'd end up having to take the steel from the core of the Earth to get that much. Yeah,
it would also have the purpose of building a vehicle that destroyed planets.
Yeah.
Put that aside.
Or just take Mercury apart and use all that iron, maybe. Beautiful. I don't know. Science. It's science, people. Building a Death Star. It's amazing.
But yeah, I mean, hey, at least that's a project that get us back into space, right? And okay.
And Darth Dawkins should appreciate that, because come on, Darth Dawkins.
Well, there are people that
building the Death Star
that believe in Jedi or will mark themselves as Jedi, and
or Sith.
I wonder what George Lucas feels about that. That be the people that mark themselves as that. I actually do like the saying, the original saying, even though as corny as it is.
May the Force be with you.
No, what is it? Fear leads to anger leads to hate leads to the dark side. That actually is a pretty good quote. That is really where a lot of
it does have some truth in there.
Yes, but I am not a Jedi. As much as I wish.
Maybe Amaretto is.
There you go. Shout out to all our theist brothers and sisters out there. I don't know if Jedi consider themselves theists.
Cosplay or whatever. I guess most of it would be, but hey.
Well, see, here's the dilemma. We consider that LARPing, but we also consider this LARPing. So it's
Bob
like,
Larson.
Yeah, I mean, either send those emojis. Get the extra. I've like actual exorcisms. I find them fascinating, just because I just can't understand how anyone can believe that they're real, and so I find them very, very fascinating. I would totally go to one.
Now you have to be at the commander level to send those really bad emojis, and then
Every
of course
time you say that. Where's my fake, my squishy gun?
And then, the girl dick level would be the best emojis of all. That would really just kill the devil. He hates him. It'll make him want to do something good, like not blaspheme God. He hates it that much.
Now you're talking, baby. I feel like at the girl dick level, that's how you save yourself from a Sodom and Gomorrah event.
Most likely, yeah.
Most
you
likely.
Just make God just so disgusted, he just turns away and he just can't even bother with you anymore.
Oh, is that the emotion you were thinking? That's exactly the emotion I was thinking as well. Anyway, we are moving along, and the Lord's back onto Charlton Heston saying on the first day.
Say it, don't spray it, God.
I know. I honestly, every time they say the word SPAC, that is exactly what I think of my head. Like, why is God like low rise giving me a porno?
I think it's supposed to be spake, but you've just always said SPAC.
Is it my brain?
Yeah.
It's still going to be SPAC onto Charlton Heston.
No sense changing it now.
No sense changing it now. On the first day of the first month, shall thou set up the tabernacle. Oh boy. of the tent of the congregation. It's like we're back in Scouts. Yay!
Minecraft. But there's a hell under it.
Oh boy. Burn forever. I'm sure the microphone loved that sound. And thou shalt bring in the table and set in order. Oh wait, I missed the ark. And
You're
thou
making your
shalt
order?
therein.
The waiter comes up. You make your order.
Excuse me, can I have something? I'd like hell, please. Oh, fantastic. Well, we'll send your soul right to hell. And thou shalt put therein the ark of the testimony. Once again, sounds like an MMO term. And cover the ark with the veil.
Yes.
And thou shalt bring in the table. Now we are setting up a D&D table and set in order and things that are to be set in order upon it. And thou shalt bring in a candlestick and light the lamps.
He likes a little hot wax play.
Oh, baby, hot. Fuck us. Fuck us.
FCUS, Newman. What does that spell?
And thou shalt set the altar of gold for the incense, back to gold, before the ark of the testimony, and put the hanging of the door to the tabernacle. And thou shalt set the altar of the burnt offering, back to burnt offerings, before the door. Sorry,
Newman,
Betsy.
Newman, have you ever been diagnosed with ADD?
Why, yes, I think I...
Oh, okay then.
Move along. Thou shalt set the altar for gold for incense before the ark of the testimony, and put the hanging of the door to the tabernacle. And thou shalt set the altar, burnt offering, to the tabernacle of the tent of the congregation. And thou shalt set the laver between the tent, or my thighs, baby, hot, and the congregation and the altar, and shall put water therein. And thou shalt set up my daughter. Can you set up my daughter? She's been having problems finding a good husband. To the court roundabout, and hang up the hanging.
Another roundabout.
At the court gate. They love roundabouts.
Worse than Europe, even, with those damn roundabouts.
I know. And thou shalt take the anointing oil, oh baby, and anoint the tabernacle, hot, and all that is therein.
You're going to anoint everything in there, Amy? The whole tabernacle and everything in it.
It's funny that he said that, because there's a bunch of guys in there, so I guess I'm just going to have to anoint everyone in the tabernacle. Everything. Okay, I guess. I got so excited I lost my place. Where are we?
Focus, Newman.
Focus.
Focus.
I feel so bad. I need to give. I literally do Darth. I say Darth, but then I do Antangelo just because I like doing Antangelo's voice. But I have to figure out
a Darth voice.
Is Darth like a Northeasterner? Where is he from?
He
is he
sounds
a
Midwesterner?
Like a Northeasterner?
He sounds like kind of like a Indiana, Minnesota.
Look, guys, you gotta.
Yeah.
Newman, you gotta focus.
Yeah.
Newman, he has command of his voice. He has command almost on the commander level. Oh, I'm liking it.
You got it.
Okay. And hallow it, and all the vessels thereof, and shall be holy. And thou shalt mount the altar of the burnt offering.
Mount the altar?
Oh, baby. Mount that altar, and all his vessels, and sanctify the altar, and it shall be the altar most holy. I like how it says that it's most holy.
Remember in the news back like just probably a few months back, the Catholic priest that desecrated the altar with the dominatrixes in Louisiana. They the bishop, they ended up like publicly burning the altar because they did some very naughty things on it.
Oh, but maybe that's just what Aaron Ra told us to do with the anointing oil.
Right? Maybe it's his interpretation of it.
Exactly. Praise to Jesus. Okay, though we're not up to that part. That's part 2. And then thou shalt bring Aaron Ra and his sons onto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation and wash them with water. Did I read the sanctify?
Aaron Ra's getting a bath?
Yeah, and thou shalt anoint the laver of his foot and sanctify.
I would not want to be the one giving Aaron Ra a public bath.
Woohoo! And thou shalt put upon Aaron Ra the holy garments and anoint him and sanctify him, that he may minister unto me. Oh, baby. In the priest's office. I think they're used to this in the priest's office. And thou shalt bring his sons and clothe them with coats. And thou shalt anoint them.
Back to the coats, really? Back to the fucking coats.
Back to the coin. I thought that said, and thou diddle. It does not. As thou didst, anointing their father. It might as well, though. That they may minister unto me in the priest's office. For their anointing shall surely be an everlasting love. Priesthood,
minister to me. Do it. Minister to me.
My body is ready throughout their generations. Thus did Charlton Heston, according to all the Lord Bob commanded him. So did he. And it came to pass in the first month, in the second year.
That time of the month. That time of the month came to pass.
That time of the month. It happens to all of us except the people in this channel right now. On the first day of the month, the tabernacle was reared up. Oh, baby.
They got their Social Security payments on the first, so they could rear up that tabernacle.
Okay, well, that part does happen to me. And Charlton Heston reared up that tabernacle, baby. That's what it says, people. I'm just reading it. And fastened his sockets. Oh, baby. And set up the boards thereof. And put in the bars thereof. And reared up his pillars. I'll let you take that any way you want it. And he spread abroad the tent over the tabernacle. Is that what he did? And put the covering of the tent above upon it, as the Lord Bob commanded Charlton Heston. And he took it and put testimony into the ark. I am putting testimony into the ark. And set the staves on the ark and put the mercy seat above upon the ark. Oh, baby, as you would. And he brought the ark into the tabernacle and set up the veil of the covering and covered that ark. Cover that ark, baby.
Cover that ark. Cover it, yeah.
Cover the ark of the testimony, which once again is an MMO term, as the Lord Bob commanded Charlton Heston. And he put the table in the tent of the congregation. This is so specific. Like, this is as specific as a Sims game. Like, it really is like, I know, picnic basket. The Ark of Testimony. And he put the table in the tent of the congregation.
And
upon
Yogi
the
might
side.
Look inside the ark looking for a picnic basket. Boo boo.
Arden, we put it in there. I don't know what that voice was. That was almost boo boo. That was a drunken boo boo. Upon
like
the
drunken
side
Mr. Batman.
Ooh, verse T jump. I need to see that.
Yeah.
Upon the side of the tabernacle, specifically northward, without the veil.
Always points north.
And he set the bread in order upon it before the Lord, Bob. As
Not the
Lord,
shewbread?
Bob, no, not the shewbread. That's right. Definitely in the priest's orifice. I'm pretty sure that's what it said. That's probably what it said.
Makes more sense.
Picky. Said upon before the Lord, as the Lord had commanded Moses. And he put the candlestick in the tent of the congregation,
I'm sure he
over
did.
against the table on the side of the tabernacle southward. He's covering everything, like all his bases. And he lighted the lamps before the Lord Bob, as the Lord Bob commanded Charlton Heston. And he put the golden altar in the tent of the congregation before the veil. Oh my God, more burning stuff. And at least it's incense and not an animal.
It's very makes a lot of sense to have, candles right around like a cloth tent. It's perfect design.
Perfect design. Yeah. Oh my goddess. They're about to burn this whole shit down. I just noticed that. Yeah, good point. And as God commanded, perfect design. And he burned sweet incense really, really, really close to something flammable thereon.
They're going to be doing burnt offerings and right next to this big flammable tent. What could go wrong?
Nothing. As the Lord God commanded Charlton Heston. And he set up the hanging at the door of the tabernacle. Just love this tabernacle. And he
doused it with gasoline just because.
It'll be safe. It'll be fine. And he lighted the lamps before the Lord as the Lord God commanded. And he put the golden altar, because the big G loves lots of G. Give me that gold, baby. In the tent of the congregation before the veil. And he burnt sweet incense thereof, as the Lord commanded Moses. And he set up the hanging at the door of the tabernacle. And he put the altar of burnt offering by the door of the tabernacle of the tent of the congregation, and offered
by the flammable door.
By the flammable door. Upon it, the burnt offering and the meat offering. Oh, nope, here comes the meat offering. I mean, I eat meat. It's just seems like a waste to kill an animal. I know there's the apologetics out there that are like, no, they ate it.
Some parts say that, but it does seem like they are burning at least part of it for God.
It seems to specifically say when they do eat it, though. And so, that
really wouldn't be a sacrifice if they're just making their lunch for God. The whole point of a sacrifice is you're losing something. You're taking something you could be eating and burning it because that's what God wants.
Exactly. You're taking something healthy and fine and do.
You're destroying it.
That's the point. That's the point of, I think, why they killed version number 2. I really don't understand that, and I will never understand that. But, the spoiler alerts for number 2. But it's like, he was such a nice guy.
He was perfect.
That makes it better? Yeah.
Yes. He did it for you.
That makes you guys the bad guys in the story, right?
They always say, well, Amy, you could, if you wanted to pay somebody's fine, you could go to court and you could pay their fine for them. And okay, if somebody's doing 5 life sentences for murder, could I take his place?
Exactly. To a point. You could pay someone's speeding ticket. You could pay someone, I'm trying to think, if they stole something and you're like,
restitution
all right, kid, you need to learn your lesson, but here I'm paying you out. But it's not like, well, here you go, kid, you did a double homicide. I guess I'll pay the $100 and get you out. No, that's not how that works.
I'll do your 2 life sentences. You can go out and do your thing.
And I guess we'll talk about that more in the open discussion.
Yeah.
But I really, really don't understand. I guess that's the theme of my life, isn't it? That's the whole
substitutionary atonement. Sounds so nice, but so pointless.
Yeah. Well, it only sounds nice because they're like, well, wasn't he such a nice guy? And it's like, you could prove to me, even if they could prove that Jesus was real and that he was a super swell guy that spent his entire life doing good things, that would never, ever prove to me that, number one, he was the son of a god, and number two, that we should kill him. So that
killing him somehow lets God forgive you.
Yeah, like that is. But spoilers. Okay, back on track. And if you just joined us, we are Skeptic Bible Studying. I'm gonna take us a sip, but we are in, as my Gatorade bottle falls, we are in the end of Exodus, the very end. This is the last chapter of the second book of the Bible. Kind of crazy, but we are moving along. And okay, had to take a sip, and now we are moving back in. And he lighted the lamps before the Lord, as the Lord commanded Charlton Heston. And he put the gold altar in the tent of the congregation before the veil. And he burnt sweet incense thereof, as the Lord Bob commanded Charlton Heston. And he set up the hanging door of the tabernacle.
Right by the tent, yeah. Set the candle up right there.
Right there. It'll be fine. And he put the altar of the burnt offering by the door of the tabernacle of the tent of the congregation, and offered it upon the burnt offering and the meat offering, as the Lord Bob commanded Charlton Heston. And he set the laver between the tent of the congregation and the altar, and put water there to wash withal. And Charlton Heston and Aaron Ra and his sons washed their hands and their feet thereat, when they went into the tent of the congregation, and when they came near the altar, onto the altar, they washed as the Lord commanded Moses. And he reared up the court round about the tabernacle and the altar, and set up the hanging of the court gate. So Charlton Heston finished the work. All right, I'm going to need you to finish the job, Charlie. And okay, this is going to bring us to the last section of the night. So with that, it's almost over.
Like the fireworks.
I am actually going to send the link into chat. So if you were going to do about an hour or so of open conversation about what we just read, or all things theology. So if you like to join us, our live stream, I'll be sending that in there, and then we'll read the last section. Well, what do you think, James? So much wisdom. Was this an awfully quoted 2 chapters in your Sunday school?
I mean, I don't remember ever reading any of this, but I'm sure they covered it at some point or another. You know, and there's so much wisdom in here, they would have had to. You know, I'm sure this was a big hit in Hebrew school.
Oh, it was. Every time that we wanted to build a tabernacle, and you know how excited children are to build tabernacles in the middle of the desert. Yeah,
but it's so amazing that God, he included proper fire safety, and he's so wise, so wise. You wouldn't tell anybody to set a death trap up.
No, a death trap, that would be mean.
Like, and this big tent with flammable materials, fire all around it. I mean, you wouldn't do that.
Not at all. I'm sure it'll go fine. And okay, we're going to read this last section and then open up the floodgates. We have been Skeptic Bible studying. This is the book of Exodus, chapter 40, a cloud at night and a fire during the day.
It's only hilarity, so
and it's
at least it won't
only
put you to bed.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Exactly. And okay, then a cloud covered the tent of the congregation, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle.
Oh boy.
And Charlton Heston was not able to enter into the tent of the congregation. Momo, why aren't you? Because the cloud abode thereon, and the glory of the Lord, Bob, filled the tabernacle. Excuse me? Did
there was a cloud in there, like fog.
This just said Moses couldn't go in there because God was a little too fat, and he was taking up
the whole cloud.
Fat cloud.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
His name is Jealous. We just covered that, and he took the form of a cloud, like fog that you drive through in your car. But holy fog.
It's funny you bring up the word jealous, too, because I was just watching a new Dave Chappelle clip that recently came out, and he was talking about how jealousy is one of those rare emotions that poisons the container. So, but a god has it, apparently.
Not only that, his name is Jealous. He's so jealous. Call me jealous.
And okay, yeah, exactly. Call me jealous. And when the cloud was taken up from the tabernacle, the children of Israel, Shmishmael, went onward in all their journeys. But if the cloud were not taken up, then they journeyed not till the day that it was taken up.
Okay.
For the cloud of the Lord Bob was upon the tabernacle by day, and fire was it on by night, and in the sight of all of the house of Israel, Shmishmael, throughout all their journeys.
Yay.
So the cloud covered the tent, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. When the cloud was over the tent, the people stayed where they were. Stay where we are. Whenever the cloud left, the people went on with their journey. This sounds like a video game. It's like it's looking at you. Oh, God, it's not looking at us. Go. The cloud of the Lord stayed on the tabernacle during the day, and a fire on it at night. And with that, we have just finished the second book of the Bible, the book of Exodus. Woohoo!
Yeah, whoa.
And so what do you think, James? We finished it off with a setting up of a tabernacle and
designing of clothes, more fashion design.
More fashion
God's
design.
back on Project Runway, and he got his ass ripped again by Tim Gunn.
He's quite the fashionista, like very specific too.
Like God, like these stones on that girdle. No, terrible. This is God. I think Molech would have designed something better, or even fucking Baal God.
Yeah, I feel like if you're the god of the universe, I mean, better instructions than IKEA. In fact, a little bit too specific instructions for a god, but at the same time, not that crazy from 3,000-year-old technology.
Looks like we got all kinds of hooligans back there.
Indeed. All right. And we're going to basically go from one intro to the next until we got everybody in here for the open discussion. Is your body ready, James?
No, but let's do it anyway.
Woohoo! All right. Bird. And I will say, because I only see atheists backstage. So anybody out there that is a theist,
none of Darth's buddies. They couldn't hang around.
I feel bad. They keep on coming. They keep on coming, baby. Kinky on times when our open mic isn't ready yet. Our midnight rantings tend to be like quicker to the open mic. But Bird, we have been Skeptic
Someone
Bible
who's
Study.
not a Darth Dawkins acolyte.
Not that we know of.
Well, actually, me and Darth are quite good friends, so mind what you say.
I knew it.
Yeah, I'm totally.
How are you? And what's on your mind, Bird?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Just hanging out tonight. Interesting read. Apparently, to get into heaven, you need to have some fine garments and some robes and some other silly things that are completely meaningless. But hey, that's all I got to say about it.
pretty pointless. Yeah. From the God of the universe, I'm not convinced. I'm not impressed by it. But yeah.
Right. Hashtag Palm Wonder. Woo woo.
Woo woo.
Yeah.
And okay. Thank you so much, Bird. And we're just gonna keep on moving down.
Do it.
Pat,
focus.
We have been focus.
FCUS.
Pat, we have been Skeptic Bible studying on It Was in Exodus. How are you? And what are your thoughts?
I just enjoy listening to you guys talk, because when I have to study this stuff, I have to study it like interpreting, ancient religious contexts and stuff. So when I read the Bible, it's very boring and tedious,
very dry
research. But I do, I guess, get something out of it. But it's just another ancient text of mythology that talks a lot about culture. So it's an important piece of literature. I will say that.
It certainly is. Yeah,
maybe.
Well, and I agree that it gives you, and thank you so very much, Pat. I agree. It gives you a look into, like, this is a slice of society and culture at the time. And in
what they were thinking, yeah.
And in that respect, it's very important. I guess it has to be tempered in that you have to take it seriously, and it's history. As Sunflower would say, this is what 2 billion, this is all these people believe. At the other end, it feels so good to take a lighter side to it, because just like you were saying, I think we'd all go crazy, or a little not crazy.
When you try to take it too seriously and start to apply it to the modern era, that's where everything goes wrong.
It's just amazing how, and it can't be edited. Once again, this is one of those things where, like, but it says something twice, and so it's like, well, maybe that's useful for some time later. It's like, probably not. It probably just says something twice.
Why do you think that is, Pat? What's your understanding?
Well, most critical textual critics that study particularly the Old Testament think that all of the, particularly in the Torah, the books of Moses, that this has to do with conflation of competing traditions within oral tradition within Judaism, that basically when the books of the Torah were written down and formed, there were multiple narrative accounts, so they got pieced together. That's why we have, multiple accounts of the same events and they're synchronized, right? So they appear like, why are they saying it twice? Because there were 2 sets of traditions
accounts,
that blended, right? So, and again, textual analysis isn't really of the Old and New Testament isn't really my field of focus, but I come across it fairly well, and some really smart people have written quite detailed books on it, and those books pretty much are the mainstream scholarship now.
Who would you recommend? So if you wanted to read like a good book about it, a good scholar, who would you recommend?
Well, I would probably start with Bart Ehrman.
I agree.
And Bruce Metzger. Bruce Metzger was the guy who kind of, was the, real influential to Ehrman. I've read, books both by Metzger and Ehrman and other people, and I found those to be the best because you start with them, then you go through their reference sources, and then you kind of, spider web out from there.
Yeah. And
Thank you. Sounds good.
Ehrman can speak Greek and Aramaic, correct? So he can go back from.
Well, Ehrman will tell you he can read it. That's one thing. It's a different thing from reading it to speaking it, right? Yeah.
I meant read it. Yeah.
And I can show off my talent, which is I know a third of the Hebrew alphabet, which is Aleph, Bet, Vet, Aleph, Bet, Vet, Gimel, Dal, Hey, Gimel, Vav, Hey, Tav, Tain, Het, Det, and that's where okay.
There we go.
Yes, my parents' money put to good use.
Who's the next misfit we got back there?
Yeah.
See, Oz was back there, but I think he may have had a call or something. But Oz, the seat is all warm for you. I think that's it. Does that sound?
Hey, that'll work.
And anybody, if you would like to join us for our Skeptic Bible Study, it was in Exodus. We're going to probably stay on for another 45 minutes. So come on, join and have some fun. Oh, in fact, I see Cassie. We have I'm trying to say how to say this. The loving, because she's probably of all of us, she's probably the most liberal. She's probably the most lovable
SJW herself
out there. Cassie.
Social justice rogue. Thank you.
Woo-hoo, that's right. Hold on.
Yeah, I was gonna say my patch is somewhere in here. But
how are you? And we're Skeptic.
I'm good. I wanted to talk to you about that debate you told me about with T-Jump earlier.
It was interesting. I liked it.
And see, I've only gotten through half of it. It was a short. I was like surprised how short. Because,
is this the Dawkins debate? Oh,
no, this is T-Jump and Arden. That was
Arden of Eden. Arden of Eden. Is that her name?
Yeah, it's the doc
about Richard Dawkins.
Correct.
Yeah.
It was so short that my browser crashed.
It was so short that
how short was it?
Getting into arguments with transphobes in the chat. Yay!
I saw that on Discord. I said she was having too much fun with herself.
Listen, one of them was like, what was it? That fucking term. What did they or pardon my language, but they were like, I told you, Amy. What was it? And then we were talking about like super street stuff. They said to get some decency, and I was basically like, get an education because you don't know what you're talking about here. Like, this is my wheelhouse. I was like, y'all nuts. And then it was funny because there were some of them who were like, if you don't have basically eggs and ovaries, you're not a woman. But then there were other trans folks who were like, that doesn't mean that they're not a woman. And I was like, can y'all get on the same page?
They're not even on the same page.
It was so terrible. But I was and then I was trying to tune into there was an after party, and I was just kind of I'm really surprised because it seems like there's a lot of people who think T-Jump won the debate, but I thought Arden did really well. So
where was the after show on? Was it on T-Jump's channel?
No, it was on LPP or something.
Oh yeah.
Oh well, you went on LPP you went on a Christian.
LPP teamed up with T-Jump. Amazing.
And I love T-Jump. T-Jump broke my debating cherry on Modern Day Debate. He was my first debate partner. And T-Jump, if you're ever watching this, I will love you. I always will love you. He's on Team Skeptic. We just got to get through this shit and we'll be good. But I still love you, T-Jump, even with your super straightness. I mean, I just troll. I just say
super straight mean no behind stuff. Is straight when you'll allow your girl.
No, it means they're not open to being with someone who is trans. So
I know, but Amy and I were talking about this earlier. I was like, this is so ridiculous. I can understand preference, sure, but I was like, calling yourself super straight, it's almost like you're trying to get internet points. Like, be like,
and they are, and they even admit that it's just a spoof. It's a spoof.
It's virtuous signaling towards conservatism, what it is, in my opinion.
Oh, I'm sorry, Pat. I didn't mean to talk over you.
I think it's virtue signaling to conservatives.
Yeah,
in a way.
I don't see. I mean, I first think it's interesting that people talk about society and culture and have no training in anthropology or related disciplines like they're some authority. And that's I was actually unimpressed with the debate earlier. And I know that some of you are friends with T-Jump, but he defended a position that had already been argued in the affirmative and then discounted the earlier argument. Arden had already gone out and made quite a long statement and explained her position quite eloquently. And then to go back and then want to redo definitions when that was already clearly established before the debate, to me was a non sequitur and really was a non-starter for any of his arguments. Well,
maybe I see why it was so short.
This is the common, saying, well, this is what the commonly used term is. Well, that's not how I stated it. And you accepted the debate on these premises based on earlier statements I had made. So you lose if you don't acknowledge the terms and conditions of a debate, when you acknowledge the terms and conditions of a debate. So that's just me. I actually thought it was somewhat disingenuous.
I didn't get to watch it, but yeah.
I have to. I didn't realize the debate was going to be so short because I kind of like tuned in at the very end and then like I started rewatching.
How short was it?
Like 45 minutes total.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's very short.
People were joking that it was the shortest modern day debate that's ever been made without somebody like rage quitting.
I've never seen one go less than an hour. I think hour and 15 is short, but 45 minutes, that's unheard of.
Yeah, I should have been in chat shilling for people to buy questions.
Come on, like we were talking about trolling that chat too, because Amy and I were literally talking about this debate like around like 5 o'clock. She's the one who told me about it, and I was like,
I was in chat. I just took a nap.
I just saw it, but I say we're doing Bible studies, so yeah.
And it's hard to do politics on this channel. I go back and forth because, depends because
it's not our brand, but I mean we'll not that we won't touch it, but it's not our staple.
Kinky.
That's kind of more. That's like my wheelhouse, like socio-political stuff. But to what Pat was saying earlier. People with no training and some of the things I was like saying like this would have been covered in a basic like sociology 101, and I know because I've started taking those kind of courses, and I'm like
Anthro 101
and they had this is the thing that I don't get with a lot of transphobes and people who are like it's either man or woman, one or the other. Okay, so this society, this culture, all of these have had more than a gender binary for how many years? And you're trying to say that your ethnocentric, bigotry, bigoted views are like superior?
And here, let me speak in their language that they'll understand because the word transphobe triggers them. So just say, replace the word transphobe with asshole and say, does doing the thing that I'm doing make me an asshole? And if the answer is yes, then there you go. Because the whole point was like, does someone constantly misgendering me make me an asshole? Yes, it makes you an asshole. It has nothing to do with all these the clinical terms are what trigger them, even if they're true or not. But just replace that. No,
finish. Listen, here's the thing: if you had, so say that you have a transphobic guy, if you ma'amed him, he would get in such a tiffy. But then he still would like try and go and justify calling a trans woman sir. But
I have
Mr. Batman.
I have a lack of decorum and basic respect.
I mean, that's a broad brush, though.
On a pre-sups, a
special pre-sup.
It's a Mr.
Very
Batman
special
channel, and he is very similar in Darth and Well, I won't even say it. Did Darth mute me? I don't know if Darth muted me. He didn't want to let me talk. Nonetheless, Mr. Batman.
He's even worse. Batman's even worse, I think. He's even more hostile.
Exactly. Well, first of all, his catchphrase that he gave himself is "sir, sir, sir," which is what he says to everyone. But as soon as I came on there and he heard my voice, I don't know why my voice. I don't think whatever. He went into like ultra like. Yeah, I guess so. He went to like sir, and
even more than usual.
I'm like, calm down, buddy.
Like, your voice isn't even like very masculine. Like, there are times where it's like my voice is more masculine.
He probably knew who she was from.
When I was on Darth server, they're like, "That's not your voice." They're like, "Drop it." I'm like, "No. This is."
But it's just so stupid, though. And like, you know, to my point, like, I know it's painting a broad brush, Bird, but it's like this is a thing you have to understand. It's like Amy and I have been dealing with people like this for almost 20 years.
Pavel.
Yeah, but most people haven't. You have to understand that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I listen, and I told you in the chat, in the thing, there's several things that I learned that I had no idea, and I'm still learning about it. But the difference is you can't expect everybody to have your same view when you deal with that personally for 20 years. You know, and yes, in that chat, those guys were being assholes 100%. But it's not
they're
like
just there to troll, a lot of them.
Yeah, I get that. But there are people that have genuine questions that sometimes just get labeled.
Genuine, like, as long as you're, you know, if it's disingenuous, like it's
right.
a GFY situation, go for yourself. But like, no, it's, you know, and especially because it's like, I'm not, you know, traditionally what somebody would call transgender, but I'm non-binary, and so gender fluid.
It's how you be yourself. Who cares? That's you.
There's different labels and stuff like that. Our understanding and
just be you.
Vernacular changes. Yeah. So, you know, I'm used to like handling questions. But it's when people are being like, they're trying to look for ways, like they want to like make you justify their obvious bigotry. Like they want to, you know, feel superior, or it's they, you know,
it's their intentionality with it.
You so much. But then these are the same people that are Amy and I are friends who did adult work, who they would be buying their content, if you know what I mean. So it's the whole, like literally most of them are Republicans and conservative and stuff. Like, so, you know, that's the thing. It's, you have the hypocrisy, you know.
Right.
So
no, I get you.
Yeah. But no, I mean, like, to people who are like, you know, like yourself, Bird, who like are genuinely like, you know, and make a change and kind of understand and are willing to listen. Like, that's not what I'm talking about at all. I'm just talking I'm talking about like the active, like transphobe, you know, the activist, like Amy said.
Yeah.
Well, you have to remember that. I mean, in the United States, anyway. I mean, we have such a strong influence of the whole Judeo-Christian morality system, and that you know, even if people aren't, you know, religious anymore, that still has such a big impact on our culture, how people are raised, the thought processes that people have. You know, even in some of these European countries where they are more secular, more atheist, but that still has that kind of imprint on the culture and on the society that, you know, isn't just going to go away overnight. It's going to take some time for people to, you know, break out of that mold, I guess.
I once heard someone much smarter than myself say this, that religious conservatives are 2s and 3s on the Kinsey scale trying to pretend they're a 0.
Yeah, it's hilarious. And most of the time they're 6 and 7. So, seen it. Yeah.
And another point I would like to, they agree with me on. Part of being an adult is understanding that not everyone is going to be attracted to you. And I feel like there is no one, except for maybe a very small amount of people that I think T-Jump is pointing to, but no one really wants to hold a gun and be like, date trannies.
That's not true. That's not true entirely. There are people on YouTube that say if you won't date me, then you're a transphobe. So it's
really
there's a guy.
They are out there, but I think they're few and far between.
I can see the argument in this because I do know people that we've talked about this about this topic. The issue that some of us have who hold like a similar position, it's reducing people down to genitals is kind of gross. And yes, I know like that's a component for a lot of people, but at the same time, like it's for some of us, like it's very hard to fathom, you know, if you love somebody, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, for people
I get you.
Who like leave their partners after they, you know, it's hard for me to fathom that, you know? So I think like for some of us, like there's the issue of reducing people down to genitals is gross and kind of fetishistic of, you know, cis people as well, or people who have certain genitalia. And I think that's some of the argument. I think the other is like, you know, the case of, well, if you say that your sexuality is you're attracted to women, but you don't think a trans woman is a woman, that's, or, you know, like, but I wouldn't date a trans woman. Well, you're making an assumption about the genitalia somebody has, you know, and all this other stuff. Like if I say I'm trans, there are plenty of people who think that I was assigned male at birth, and they're making an assumption about my genitalia, and the conversation and how they tried to demean me goes based on that. So that's where, you know, you can't just assume that like every male to female trans person has the same set of genitalia. Right. You can't assume any female to male has the same, or, you know, non-binary. And I think that's where some of the problems run in, is where people feel like the cis people who say this get super hung up on that, when really sexuality is supposed to be more about the whole package, you know, from my understanding.
I can see your point. See your point.
But I mean, it's not the same for everybody. And I mean,
yeah.
You know,
I think it's also how you go about it too. Like if you are an a-hole about it, right, and like, you know, there are people who, you know, trans panic defense is still a thing in parts of the country. And I think that's another influence on why, like, you know, transphobia and genital preference gets kind of, you know, tied together.
But I mean, if
that's still a major issue. Like Amy, you remember you told me you were kind of nervous about dating cis men for a while because of that, a long time ago.
And let me qualify what I said, or maybe clear it up a little bit. The people that I'm referring to, like we already know, they're the tiniest minority. They're the sliver of a sliver of a sliver. But those are the ones in people's heads, especially conservative, whatever, that they're the ones that they're listening to, not normal people that are dealing with things on a day-to-day basis and talking reasonably. You know?
I also think that an important thing to remember with this too is there's been a lot of social scientists and psychologists and anthropologists have looked at what, you know, public rejection versus private acceptance.
Exactly.
How many of these people that you've seen publicly reject, denigrate, and, you know, basically are poster boys for both trans and homophobia be privately accepting of those lifestyles. And that's
partaking in them.
That's a social issue and a cultural issue that we don't deal with as a society, that we allow duplicity, and we, in many ways, we prioritize it among certain groups of people, particularly those that have conflicting, you know, if you want to call religious norms a social norm, you know, ingrained social norms that are conflicting with their own, you know, sexuality or expression of their sexuality.
Yeah, that's problematic. I'm going to bring in someone because I think they want to talk about this subject. So, Atheist Junior, we have been Bible studying about it was in Exodus, but we've also been talking some gender stuff and theology.
I wanted to talk about Exodus. I'm just kidding.
You sorry.
No.
Welcome, Atheist Junior.
Welcome, Atheist Junior. And I want to say, I saw your comment. I would be honored to debate with you. All you have to do, send the debate to I'm not sure if I should even say he has a public email. If you find his public email at his modern day debate, you'll get a message that says, the delayed response message. That's perfectly fine. Everybody gets that, no matter who you are.
He'll still respond if it's important. Something, yeah.
Exactly. But I would love to do doubles. Woohoo!
I just think we would make a good team.
I think you guys would.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
So
kick ass, be bass.
Just to continue the topic about trans people, I'll start off by making my position clear that I think, trans men are men, trans women are women, and non-binary people are valid. And I think if you think the opposite of that, you're fundamentally opposed to those people having equal rights. And, I think that the fact that they're still in this YouTube community, there are theists like Darth and Mr. Batman that want to misgender people like Amy. I think that they need to have some dignity and get their head out of their ass and just
they never will
respect.
They're the ones who need to find some decency.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not, and those are the people that say that you're not a moral person if you're not a theist, but
they're the ones who look like idiots and assholes, so it shows.
Yeah. And what were y'all talking about a second ago about the transgender issue?
It was about they were talking about dating preferences and
genital preferences.
Yeah, I had a sort of, not a debate, but sort of going back and forth with T-Jump on Twitter about this, because I am a fan of him, but when I saw the super straight thing, I wrote a tweet that said that, I'm a fan, but the fact that he would not only, support this position, but be willing to debate for it in the affirmative and take it this seriously was disappointing to me. And he wrote me back, and I also said in my tweet that, the super straight thing, it definitely is like the ultimate version of that meme where, it's literally no one, not one single person. And then it's like T-Jump, it's like, I wouldn't date trans people. It's like, no one asked you. This is...
That's a good analogy, though. I like that. I like that. I think that's a good analogy.
With the percentage of just talking about the US, the percentage of the population that is gender non-conforming,
less than 1%.
Likely, it's about 0.3% or something like that. You're likely never going to be in the situation where you would have to make that decision unless you were seeking those type of individuals out. And if you don't want to do that, if you don't want to date them or whatever, then just don't match with those people on Twitter on Tinder. And
or don't go. Where do they go? I mean,
atheist, you're going to push back a little bit on that when you.
Well,
said,
let me just. Can I say?
Go ahead and finish.
I'm almost finished. But in society, when somebody is presenting, if they transition and they're now presenting as a woman, when they are in the part of their transition where they're passing, they're going to interact with people, say if they go to the gas station to pay for gas, that person is going to interact with them as a woman and think that they're a woman. It's the topic of actually having sex is not something that comes up in a day-to-day topic, so that's why I said that it really seems like these people are going out of their way to say that I'm so disgusted.
But I mean, if you just see them in public, it's not a sexual encounter. You're just going to treat them as you would treat any other woman, because why go out of your way to be an asshole? They're not trying to rape you or anything.
Yeah, in my tweet, I said that it just sounds like these people they want to announce that they're so disgusted by people who are trans that they wouldn't date them. And, it's like no one asked. And
in most cases, they're not asking,
Yeah. So,
and this is the thing, I definitely agree with you. And I think that, at the end of the day, though, if that's not what you're into, you give it your best shot, have an adult conversation. If you're old enough to have sex, you should be old enough to not beat a trans woman because you find out she's pre-op.
Right.
Especially because, just for people who don't know, gender, or not gender, we don't call it gender reassignment anymore. I think it's genital reassignment surgery. or gender confirmation surgery.
Yeah, the confirmation.
Affirmation or confirmation.
There's been so much thrown around in the past few years. I'm like trying to like make sure I have the right term, the most respectful term. But you know,
even
not
the
everybody...
SJWs have to stay on the cutting edge.
See, exactly.
Make that joke.
I'm trying.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
Listen, you know, well, I'm trying to be respectful, you know, so that's just, it's my thing. Why I want to try and use the best terminology too. Especially because I know this isn't like most people's arena here, so I'd like to be a good ambassador.
Amaretto's gonna be on the channels as the transphobe because she used reassignment surgery.
But
you had to fumble around for the term. You fumbling around for the term, Amaretto?
I was a bigot against white people earlier tonight in the chat, and I'm like, no. But
we love you.
You said I'm white as mayonnaise.
Yes, I said I'm whiter than mayonnaise.
That was hilarious.
I thought you had a good point. I thought you had a good point earlier too.
People.
Yeah.
But are you as white as sour cream?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
This is me with a tan. So.
I thought she had a good point earlier when she was talking about how people are talking about a genital preference, but you don't know if somebody identifies as trans. You don't know if it's pre or post op, and you know.
And not everybody can have the surgeries because of health conditions. Like I'll say this, like about 10 years ago in Philadelphia, I met somebody who was M to F, like they were a trans woman, but you were not going to be able to have that go all the way with surgery because of their health conditions. Money is also a factor.
Yeah, it's
in
very
this country.
Right. There are a lot of reasons.
Are still highly discriminated against. And a lot of transgender folk are also disabled, so it's like a double whammy there.
Yeah, and there are some people like who are M to F. They don't want to have a bottom surgery because you know. Maybe they will in the future, but it's an extremely expensive surgery. And for them, you know, they may feel like, especially if they're already in a relationship, they may feel like it's not something that's necessary.
Right. And I've heard it's extremely
like the Glenn
painful.
Close gif of her standing up and clapping because like everything with atheists, like yes, thank you.
I did want to push back against Atheist Junior's comment though in his intro. You made a comment and you started quoting some statistics. Regarding the low rate of quote unquote, you know, but what you're talking, right? But you know, what you're quoting is the expression of non-conforming gender norms versus the presence of non-conforming gender norms. There are a lot of people who do not express non-conformity because of social structures or restrictions. And when we start quoting lower rates than actually are observed in anthropological and sociological studies, because we're only counting those that express versus those that possess, we actually denigrate the group as a whole. And as if we're going to truly be allies, we have to understand that rates of at least inquisitiveness and self introspection as far as gender conformity are at much higher rates. And when we start quoting statistics that show the group to be smaller, we marginalize them. And I know that's not your intent, but be careful of quoting studies that are only using self-confirmation and identification in a society that is largely opposed to expression for many of our traditional social norms.
So what's the actual number?
Can I respond to that?
What's the actual number?
Well, while I agree with you,
let Atheist Junior respond, then we have a Christian who wants to come in.
Oh no.
Yeah, I agree with you, and but I will say that what I was talking about was people who could potentially be dating people, and those people who express their gender are the ones who would be probably looking to date and being open as being trans, versus people who have to hide it. They definitely, obviously, they don't want people to know. So I was talking about dating, but I do agree with what you're saying.
And I would just say that, remember, when we talk about expression, trans being, you know, if you want to consider transgender, or if you find there's a spectrum for transgender expression. And that's something else too. Like I'm probably the oldest person in chat, and there are people that in private have worn women's undergarments, and that is an expression on the spectrum.
Oh, baby.
right? So these are, and I'm talking from people that I know personally, but that they wouldn't consider themselves transgender
for a long time.
In 1980. They didn't consider themselves transgender. They were mislabeled, misidentified, but they're in a spectrum, right? So again, as we as society making, and again, we're using terms, making transgender a binary issue, and a yes or a no, that may be one of the problems those of us that consider us allies are making when we're trying to advocate for those that we want to see have equal status in our society, understanding it's a spectrum. And I will tell you, among ancient societies, one of the things I think modern, I'm not going to say modern liberals, but I consider us all progressive and liberals in this chat. I would caution anyone about over-identification of terms. One thing about ancient societies, particularly, in the Black Sea, the region I studied, the ancient Scythians, there's actually a wonderful book by Barry Cunliffe on this topic, if you guys want to read it, was about, he refers to it as ancient transvestitism, right? But ancient cultures didn't assign name to it. It's just the way it was. It was just that de facto state of their societies. Some men dressed as women in certain social roles. Now, I'm not saying that he gives the best description, but it's a very interesting introspection into the history of a region where they didn't give anybody labels. You were how you dressed.
Right. And
so this is something being kicked around for millennia.
Well, with the Scythians, at least 1000 BC, right? So
I know there are some like cultures where even if they weren't open to people being gay, there are, I forget which nationality it is, but there were people in that society who, they were men who would identify, they would live their lives as women, and everybody in the society would give them that presentation.
I think India is one.
There are several Asian societies, both modern and ancient, that engaged in those. Sex being who you were having sex with being an identification of your gender. But again, that's outside. Once you leave the Mediterranean and Black Sea, I lose my.
I watched a Vice video about that, but I forgot to say in my opening statement that I identify like as bi, but I know that there are people who call themselves pansexual, and that identity can be seen as being more inclusive of being willing to date or be in a relationship with trans people. And the reason that I would call myself bi is not, it's just because nobody knows what pan means. It's simply easier to just tell them that you're bi. And
I'm sure Amaretto will tell you exactly what it means.
It means non-stick.
Amy, can I tell the story?
Well,
sure.
I thought we had
that at this point is very vague.
What about we got Zoe back there?
Somebody in?
So
hold on. Before we go into Jesus talk, I just want to say this. Pat, you're definitely right. I think, especially in our society, we do have a tendency to go to binary, even with things like autism spectrum and mental health disorders, where it's really, you should be looking at things more like a pie chart, or different,
not
like
crazy or sane, but how crazy or how sane.
But I definitely think that's a good observation, that we tend to make it more binary.
Yes, and thank you for reminding me of that.
Well, I think you're a good guy, Atheist Junior. So I just want to make sure that you don't step on it, so to speak.
You're a cinnamon roll. I love you.
Yeah. Hey, so real quick, Pat. So
he's a Pop-Tart.
What do you think the actual number is? Like, if you had to make like a guess based on what you know about ancient cultures.
Well, I think expression, when it's uninhibited within a society, can reach rates, I just hazarding a guess, but I think 10 times what we're seeing expressed in America, 3 to 5% would probably be pretty, and I think that would be a conservative estimate. But the problem is sampling. How do you get people to come in and actually
self-identify, right?
Self-identify. And, given social stigmas within our society, because we know the rates of identification in ancient societies were higher. So when there was no social stigma.
How high would you say it got?
Conservatism too. Like, there are still people that are, they're in their 30s, 40s, 50s, sometimes even 60s, until they find the lingo or something that they're like, the spark, this is what's going on. I just talked to somebody today who unfortunately is like, their relationship is ending because they just realized they are not non-binary, they're trans. And, their partner Unfortunately, they've made the decision to amicably split, but it's still painful and hurtful. And
well, of course, yeah.
So definitely, I think maybe Amy and I kind of had the benefit because of where we grew up. Generally, we're blue states, or
yeah,
not in the Bible Belt.
Yeah, not in the Bible Belt.
But yeah, I think that's definitely a huge part of
grow up in the bird bath.
Hey,
even
easy,
though
easy.
But I mean, yeah.
And I just wanted to say, I want to agree with one of, and I'll say this, and then I'll bring Jesus as the way in. I wanted to agree with Atheist Junior. Sometimes it just feels really random. Like, it's like, I will not date T-girls. And it's like, okay, did someone ask?
Right, exactly.
Was someone like, date the T-girls? And you're like,
no,
oh no, I
don't want to.
No.
I need to be super straight. I'm beyond super straight. I'm super straight.
Exactly. It just feels
I'm so
like...
straight, I'm gay. I mean, it's like, no
that's my joke. I go on there.
You're so straight, you're gay?
Yeah. And I say I have become so super straight that I have transcended straightness to where I love the girl cock. But I'm
so straight, I'm literally Mike Pence.
That's pretty straight.
I've been married 27 years. I'm at no sex now.
So you're almost at Mike Pence.
Praise so.
No,
let's bring in Jesus.
Bad married joke.
Just don't start calling your wife mother. That's when you know it's about to start.
No.
Okay, and
that's a whole other chat. Amaretto.
Yeah, to say that's a different type of chat.
Different kind of kink.
If that's his kink, let's not shame it.
No.
Like I said, I am not kink shaming no one. We were talking about putting guys in panties. I was like, that my how I pay the bills the past 10 years. That sounds great.
I do think
my dating profile.
I do think Mike Pence was the character in the Da Vinci Code.
Having showing up naked for debates. That your kink, Amy?
Literally. Just saying.
Literally.
Showing up naked?
Jesus.
No, wait. Hold on.
We need to go back to Jesus talk. This is getting...
Let me do a Gavin check. Wait. Oh, I'm wearing pants. Damn. All right. Transitioning. Since we're on topic.
To Jesus.
We've been having a Skeptic Bible Study.
We haven't seen him since Dak was on.
I know. It's been so long.
It's been like 2 months.
We have been talking about it was an Exodus as well as some gender theory. So let's kick it all together. How are you and what are your thoughts?
Oh, so holy. So holy.
Who wants to talk Jesus?
We all want to talk Jesus.
I think Atheist Junior likes to talk Jesus.
I think that's skipping chapters, but we'll do it anyway. There he is, the big J man.
The big G.
Preaching to the masses.
Mm-hmm.
Atheist Junior don't like Jesus?
Bro, Jesus is the way.
Yeah, that's
actually, as long as you know it, we're good.
The truth.
Jesus looks very effeminate.
And the life. No one comes in the Father but through him.
Oh, wow. Hello.
James, I'm offended by your rhetoric.
I
apologize, Jesus.
I let Jesus put his seed inside of me and grow inside me and put his yoke on me.
In your heart?
I'm the bride of Christ. So
y'all are all going to hell.
Let Jesus come inside of you guys. Let Jesus come inside you.
Why do all of you have to be so offensive?
I'm just using the language of my Christian brothers, sir.
Amy, I've got an idea for
That's not in the Bible.
I haven't read the Bible.
Well, so that would be a you problem. Next.
It's a Christian
Amaretto
tradition.
loves her some Jesus.
It's a Christian tradition to not read the Bible, sir.
It is.
Actually,
much.
sir.
Yeah.
Indeed.
That's an assumption. That's an assumption.
Actually, sir, no, it's not. You're assuming that that's an assumption, and you've committed 34 fallacies since you've been on.
I mean, Atheist Junior, are you trying to talk to his manager? Like,
Jesus doesn't have a
Mr.
manager.
Batman fallacy.
If you say "sir" one more time, I already know you have no idea what you're talking about.
True.
Ma'am.
Are you a lesbian?
Maybe.
I am now.
Okay.
I definitely am. I like women. Women.
I told Amy I go both ways.
Woohoo!
everybody's hot.
Good for you.
It
You're
must
going to hell.
suck to be like the guy all the way in the back row there. Like
He's
trying to
super
listen.
straight. His life is already hell.
He has to make sure his robe is down so that no one's getting a peep show down there.
Hey.
Atheist
He's
Junior.
not gavining.
I feel like the guy in the front in the green is not believing any of his bullshit. He's like,
Yes, he's like, who the fuck is this guy?
Atheist Junior, how do you know that Jesus did not die and resurrect after 3 days?
well, because most of the people who died in crucifixions or who were killed by the Romans were buried in mass graves and not put in caves with a giant boulder rolled in front of them.
And mummified, right?
That's the best you have.
And showing an empty tomb is not evidence. Somebody could have moved Jesus's corpse.
The wild
Also-
animals could have eaten him.
Also,
Right.
I was there, so
Yeah, I saw it.
I saw it not happen.
So let's get a count. Who all was there?
Well,
Not
I'm not
you.
sure because the Bible story of which women were there at Jesus's tomb is totally contradictory in the different gospels. So
No, why wasn't there anyone there who was? Why was it women, not non-binary? Maybe they should have had. I mean,
because they had already finished cooking lunch.
I'm sorry, James. Were we speaking to you? No, we weren't. I was talking to AJ. Thank you.
I was just pontificating.
Well, you can do that when you talk to Darth, but you don't do that when you talk.
Daddy Darth, excuse me.
Yeah.
Darth
Tom
Angelo.
Rabbit, Daddy Darth, that was hilarious.
So AJ, you pulled the weakest atheist and skeptic cards that you could possibly pull to come against the crucifixion and resurrection. Do you have anything more
He
impressive?
came
than
against it.
Resurrection is not possible,
Game.
sir.
that? According to you,
To you.
According to science.
do you have documentation of that?
Yes.
Well, have you ever seen anybody come alive after dying?
Me
After
personally,
being
no.
crucified?
That doesn't mean it's never happened.
That was a weird sentence.
That was a weird sentence.
You've made a claim that it's never happened or it can't happen. So you've made a positive claim. So now you need to demonstrate that that's true.
I mean, we all have our COVID shots, right? And we haven't turned to zombies yet.
It is possible for somebody to be clinically dead on an operating table and be brought back to life, but not after being dead for 3 days. The heart, once the heart stops and once brain activity ceases for that long and oxygen doesn't go to the brain for that long, there is no possible way that you could bring that person back to life and have any brain function whatsoever. At best, they would be brain dead and comatose.
Okay. Again, that sounds great.
They said Jesus walked around and talked to people. So
Everything you're saying is awesome, but now you're making positive claims that it can't, doesn't, wasn't, wouldn't happen.
It's
So
been
now I
documented.
need to know.
It's been documented, sir. We know based on medical science that if the brain doesn't get oxygen for long enough, even if you can bring that person back, they will have no higher brain functions whatsoever.
Okay, so we got plenty of people here that we can talk to, and in the meantime, you can do the research and put that in the side chat, and we can chop it up.
But I mean, Atheist Jude, couldn't God do it with magic? Where's your wand, Amy?
Well, that's why I don't feel sorry when I hear Christians crying about how Jesus.
Amaretto's just getting beat to hell with that cat's tail. He's just whack.
She's into it, though.
He is just whacking her to death with that thing.
There's a reason her name is Yoko Oh No.
Oh.
Sir, Christians say that Jesus was tortured on the cross when he was, crucified. But if he's God and he has magic, that means it's possible for him to either feel no pain or for him to make time pass to where that happened in less than a split second for him, sir.
But he didn't.
So
The Bible
feel
says
sorry
he
for
didn't do
Jesus.
that.
Okay, I have no idea what that means. So you can put in the side chat that can demonstrate, or we can at least all of us evaluate and read the studies that you pull up that shows that it has never ever happened, that it can't happen, that it's impossible, and then we can talk about that.
I've literally read papers about this, sir.
Okay, you did.
Yes.
Okay, so put them in the side chat. We'll pull them up and let's chop it up.
Okay. I'm saying that I'm going to do that right now, and I will never do it.
Maybe Sunflower will get it for you.
Like LPP.
I really wish Jesus Was the Way was an actual Christian, because that would have been funnier. But it's great.
That's the type of logic that Christians have sometimes.
Well, but it's this is where these are things are good practice, and that's why I love it when people do it to me. It's great practice.
I do the apologetics iron personing quite a bit myself, and it annoys my friends, but
yeah.
But Atheist Junior, just when you say like that it's not possible like that to a Christian, they're just going to invoke magic. So that's not really something that's going to give them too much of a heart. That's not really going to put the heat on them. They're just going to say, well, God did it with magic. They already believe in magic all the time.
But wait a minute, they're also the ones who say that, like, I'm evil because I do magic and witchcraft.
Well, you're not God. So God can do magic.
Sir, Christians believe in miraculous events. They do not believe in magic. Magic is like Chris Angel, who is satanic.
Well, except when God does it, it's not satanic because it's God magic.
Well, to be fair, the Old Testament's actually got magic in it that's both confirmatory and used both as a antagonizer and a protagonist, in both the antagonistic and protagonistic way. So again, be careful when you say, magic in the Old Testament and in the Bible.
And
we have some pretty good magic in the Old Testament.
Oh, we've seen some already.
And since since we're all getting closer tonight to understanding that Jesus is the way, and we're
which way?
We're coming closer.
Yeah, up or down.
We're coming harder.
Jesus.
Wow, there we go. Now it's a party.
So Bird, I understand that you were a former Christian.
I was,
and now you're an atheist. How does somebody just walk away from an all-loving God and a man that died for him?
Quite easily, to be frank. It wasn't one thing. It was over years of questioning and realizing that it's all bullshit.
Okay, well,
bullshit.
I didn't
because he watched one of my videos. That's why.
I
didn't ask. Never asked how long it took. That's irrelevant. What I asked is why.
Why did I walk
always
away?
Want to know how long things are. How long things are is important to me. I like to know the length of things.
Wow.
Very long and very hard.
Not too long. Sorry, repeat your question.
So, why? Why did you walk away from an all-loving God?
Well, my big things was the problem of good and evil. That was one thing that I can't reconcile.
Okay, so you do bad things, and there's
no.
There's repercussions, like that.
No, the problem with good and evil, as I understand, is that God is all-loving God, all-knowing God, yet He created evil to put on this earth. That's ridiculous. That's one of many things. That
I reject the premise of an all-loving God in your question. Jesus is the way. Demonstrate that your God is all-loving before you. Put
that too, yeah.
Okay, well, everything we see around us and that we experience would demonstrate that something the God, our God, is all loving, or we wouldn't be here. He loved us enough to give us this experience to where we could experience
we lost Atheist Junior.
Our families, our children, our loved ones, and just because bad things happen doesn't mean he's an evil God. Doesn't mean he hates us. Doesn't mean he has it out for us. It just means that bad things happen because guess what? People make bad decisions.
Which God?
Well, I mean,
what decisions do child cancer patients make, sir?
Hold on. Which God are you talking about specifically?
My screen name is Jesus is the Way.
Okay. So which God?
My screen name is Jesus is the Way.
That's great.
It's the one true God, sir.
You think
the Father,
Jesus
the
is
Son,
the God?
the Holy Ghost?
I believe in the God of the Bible.
Which Bible?
The Word made flesh.
There's 2 Bibles.
There's more Bibles.
Multiple versions.
Yeah.
Well, because he's God and he's Jesus and the Holy Spirit, but he's still one.
Okay, so are we going to do semantics, or are we?
Yes.
Now you're just dodging. You don't want to have the real conversation.
Dodgeball bird.
And you want to move around. So we can either have the real conversation, or not.
So how can we prove you're God? Let's start there.
Well, no. Let's start with you actually answering my question. I asked you, why did you leave the faith?
No, I'm not going to do that. Let's prove you're God first, and then we'll talk about me.
No, if we're going to be adults, I ask you a question, you answer it, and then I'll answer your question.
I'll answer it. It was upon realizing that Christianity was based on anti-Semitism is the reason I left the faith. Coming from a mixed cultural family where my grandfather was Jewish and growing up in a tradition where anti-Semitism was encouraged was causing cognitive dissonance in my brain. And I realized rejection of religion was the best way to deal with it.
Okay. And Pat, compared to Bird, thank you for actually answering the question. And when you say that, what was it in the text that brought you to that conclusion?
I read it directly from several books, but particularly the pastorals of 1st, 2nd Timothy, and Titus, which contain numerous anti-Semitic texts. I then read the histories of the early Christian churches, in which anti-Semitism was not only rampant but encouraged among early Christian communities through the first.
Can I ask him a question, sir? Why did God take the olive branch of the Jews and choose to instead graft the Christians onto that branch when the Jews were the chosen people?
I'll come back to that in a second.
Okay. But I was asking Pat actually.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking to me.
Well, I don't believe he ever did.
Well, why do you think that in the context of the story that happened?
Because the Christian movement failed to obtain a majority acceptance within Judaism. So they went outside Judaism to both what we'd call Hellenized Jewish traditions and then what are known as God-fearers, which were those pagans who gave some reference and deference to Jewish tradition in Palestine and regions surrounding it. And given the mystery cult nature embraced during the period, it was a synchronistic development within Christianity, which appealed more to pagans than it did to traditional Jews in the region. That's what I think is the answer.
Okay, go ahead, Jesus. That was a great answer. So I have nothing to say.
That was a good answer.
Okay, and Atheist Junior definitely knocked me off my line of questioning. But within that, let's go back. I'll re-ask the last question so I get back on track. What was it within a text that caused initiated the disbelief?
The fact that the fallacious author of, I believe it's 2nd Timothy, refers to Jews as corrupted and fallen people, and that they are no longer, considered worthy of any part or inclusion.
You don't think Paul wrote it?
Oh no,
Timothy?
Paul didn't write it. No. Mm-mm. No serious textual critic believes that any of the pastorals were written by Paul.
Okay, and I think any human that would read it just based on their own understanding would probably come to the same ending or the same position you're at. But that's where the issue arises. Is we're talking about a God that his ways are much higher than our ways, and he operates outside of our understanding, very high. Prove that claim. Of understanding, and now all of a sudden, Bird has answers when he didn't have answers earlier. But
but he answer you
as high as a bird.
I said the problem of good and evil,
way outside. Of,
I don't appreciate the savior of the universe being interrupted, sir.
Yes,
as high as a bird.
But just because we can't wrap our heads around it doesn't mean that God wasn't operating within his realm of authority.
So we can't wrap our heads.
So is your God omnipotent?
God acts in delirious ways.
My question is one of two possibilities exist. One, he chose to transmit it in an imperfect way so that we would obtain imperfect understanding of his divine message, or he's not omnipotent and was unable to control the corruption of what he thought were his sacred texts and writings. So either way, he's either self-limiting to the point of inability to follow through on his divine plan, or not powerful enough to ensure its success. So
that's exactly what I was saying.
Right. So under
thanks, Pat.
Under the human understanding of definitions and logic, I would see 100% how you get to that. But the one true God does not operate within the parameters that our logic and our understanding operate in. So
how do you know that?
To minimize a God's understanding and knowing and power to that just shows we don't understand the fullness of God.
How do you
Pat hasn't read the Darth Dawkins / Mr. Batman Guide to Philosophy for the Criminally Insane 666 edition.
And how do you know that Jesus is the way?
Bird, I already told you.
God revealed it to him.
Until you answer my original question, I'm talking to Pat.
God revealed it to him, sir.
My question is so you received divine revelation in order to have this extra bodily intelligence and come into you, this knowledge come in and be testified to you that God's mystery is greater than yourself.
I can't help myself.
She can't.
I mean, Jesus is the way. I have no, I have no ability beyond that, which again, if your God's given me, he's granted me this intellect, or she's granted me this intellect. And for that purpose, or they've granted me this intellect for that matter. So they've limited my ability to understand them, because if they're beyond my understanding, then they've made myself an imperfect vessel for worship. And if they've done that, again, they're an imperfect God, knowing the human limitation would cause us to be imperfect in our worship and adoration of them. Would they have not?
No, because the scripture says that there's only one way to the Father, and that's through the Son.
We don't care about scripture.
Actually, the scripture doesn't say that. The New Testament says that.
Sir, we will have perfect understanding in heaven, sir.
Yeah,
just because in our earthly bodies we don't, doesn't mean we won't have it in heaven, sir.
In the Old Testament,
only Mr. Batman has perfect understanding.
There was a different way to heaven, and that was through blind obedience to the law. Correct. So your God is duplicitous because he has one law in the beginning and another law. It's like two books with two different sets of rules.
Sir, Jesus said our works are like rags to him.
Well,
Jesus was the fulfillment of the Old Testament law, which was made and given so that we would know that we could never live up to it, and that we need a savior. So it wasn't that you would be saved by following, because you could never do that. So you had animal sacrifice to make up for when you mess up for it, but Jesus was the final sacrifice.
Actually,
which was
said that, though. You're reading into the text. What Jesus said was the fulfillment of the law, but he also had not come to
change,
throw down the law.
Yep.
Right.
He did not
to fulfill it. Yeah.
No. He said he came to fulfill, but he had not come to
fulfill.
Destroy. Right. And when Jesus talks about that, he's talking about fulfilling the law. It's fulfilling Scripture, not about fulfilling and changing both laws regarding dietary customs, what we call Jewish Levitical tradition or Jewish customs of observance. So again, Christian, checkmate. You only pick.
We're about to get there.
You want to.
Well, so the parts of the law, the Old Testament law that were more like prophecy, they're foreshadowing things to come. So you never say that in the New Testament, under the New Covenant, they would have to do animal sacrifice, right? Because Jesus was the fulfillment of that. So those parts of the law that were purely ceremonial for that system, those don't have to be followed. But the parts of the law that were in the natural law, these are things that are inherently right or wrong, even without you being told that they're right or wrong. You just know that they're right or wrong. Those parts of the law can still be in effect.
So why did Jesus practice animal sacrifice? It's clearly
because he hadn't died yet to fulfill that law.
But while he's alive, you said he fulfilled, right? So if he came to fulfill the law, he was still living.
But he didn't complete that task until he died and was resurrected. That's when.
But wait a minute. He doesn't say he came to fulfill the law after his resurrection. He says it before he's crucified, right?
Right. Yep.
So again, Jesus practiced animal sacrifice while he was a living being.
Yes.
You don't get to undo that. So he, as an observant Jew, practiced normative Jewish culture when it came to the cleansing and ritual purification of
as was appropriate, at the time.
Right. So, but wait a minute. You said he came to fulfill the law. So if he was really there to fulfill the law, there was no necessity for him to observe these outdated and imperfect customs.
Only after he rose from the dead, which is when the new covenant began.
But
so you're talking Old Covenant. You're not delineating. You think that the new covenant began when he was on, before he died, but it hadn't came into effect yet.
But he was God, right? Did Jesus have?
That's what the text seems to indicate. Yeah.
Did he have a full knowledge of his role as God and this divine plan?
He would have realized his divine nature.
Sir, there's no record of Jesus offering a sacrifice in the temple, although he did go there as a child. But I would like to quote from Hebrews.
We assume he did.
No, he went there as a child, and two doves were purchased and sacrificed at his
It's a good song.
And
two turtle doves.
Two turtle doves. So again, that ritual purification was done as a familial unit, and then when he later returned to the temple when he was 12, custom, and he was an observant Jew, would have been for him to offer sacrifices at that time. So
his parents made him do that, sir. For by one offering he has perfected forever those who are being sanctified.
All right, so I want to jump in real quick. And
then go ahead, Zoe.
I'll shut up and let Amy take over.
It's Amy's show.
We're about ready to.
It's been good conversation, and we're actually as close to on topic, I think, as we've ever been. So it's okay.
No, I appreciate it. I love steel manning. So
doing our
I think you did a great job, Oz. I want to do it sometime.
He does a good job.
Yeah, he does. He sounds like a lot of Christians. He does a really good job.
So better.
And I promise you, I never try to go like overboard. Like some people try to steel man, like try to go to the extreme, and I try to play it as down the middle, as I can in the arguments I hear. But I do want to say this because I think this is important right now.
FOCUS. What does that spell?
Amy, what the fuck does that spell?
Focus, Newman. Focus.
I think that doesn't spell what you think it does, Darth. I think that spells focus.
Amy's response when he told that, she was like, fuck? But I will say this, in AJ, I don't know if you were joking or not, but just to help with the filthy rags thing, that was Paul. Paul said that. Jesus didn't say that.
Okay, that's my mistake.
Nope, you're good. That's why I was wrapping it up.
And the worst thing about it is like, and I'm sure Oz knows this, and the rest of you know it too. It's like if we limit what we understand about early Christianity to if we want to understand Pauline Christianity, you got to limit yourself to 7 books. Everything else is spurious. Everything else is written either way after he's dead or even into the 2nd century. And it was just at that point, people are just saying, hey, I'm Paul and I want to make up a bunch of doctrine now.
Right.
And sharpen my knife against Jews and other people.
And if the church liked what it said, it was canon. If not, it didn't make canon.
Right.
Because weren't there like books that were written by like women that were left out of the Bible? Because I have been told
there were
that.
tons of spurious books out there floating around that didn't make the cut.
Right. A lot of books didn't make the cut because of not only just because of what they said, but most of the books that were thrown out because they were fraudulent. They were falsely acclaimed to other people.
Right.
And again, if we just look at what was going around the Mediterranean at the time, you got 7 Pauline epistles, 7 letters written by Paul where he actually wrote them. Hebrews is unknown authorship, but to be fair, Paul never claimed that. No one ever claimed that being written by Paul until much later.
Luke didn't write Luke, did? Yeah.
No. Luke probably didn't write Acts either. So go ahead.
Wasn't it Joseph and Mary that offered the sacrifice of the turtle doves and not specifically Jesus?
Right, but it was based on a ritual of cleansing following Jesus' birth and the presentation of their child in his naming ritual at the temple. It was a familial offering, right? So as the head of household, Joseph did that. By the way, that would make Joseph Jesus' dad because he gave him his name.
Be akin to circumcision.
Don't get me started on Alma.
On the 8th day. Yeah.
Don't get me started on Alma.
Yeah, I know.
The 8th day.
God damn it. God fucking damn it.
And part of the reason and then later when Jesus goes to the temple and that whole issue happens, that's a different thing. But again, when ritual cleansing and purification occurred within Jewish tradition, these milestones are reached, and Jesus said he followed the law, and he followed the law. He made these sacrifices. I mean, again, just like Paul was an observant Jew, right? So
U.S. What does that spell?
My browser crashed, but well, I believe that maybe I'm wrong, but I thought the question earlier was, did Jesus offer sacrifices? And as Jesus was perfect and had no sin, sir, he would not need to sacrifice. But he was a Jew.
But sir, if Jesus didn't sacrifice according to law and tradition, he would not have been an observant Jew and would have sinned. He'd have broke the law.
So it's a
catch-22.
I know.
But he can sacrifice and still be the Messiah, right? So there's no problem unless you want to say Jesus never sacrificed. But I can be Jesus too.
Well,
is that part of why there are a lot of people that believe Jesus would have actually done what would have been expected of a Jewish man in his time period and actually like take a wife? Because there are like some people who are like Da Vinci.
Whatever sect of Christianity,
he never existed. So no,
right. But
he did not get the chance to.
If Jesus wasn't a scene, right, or some sect of Judaism were taking wives and they weren't taking wives and were seeking an aesthetic lifestyle, then he may not have married, right? We don't know what particular sect of Judaism Jesus belonged to, if he existed as a person in history, right, or whatever people believed him to be. And typically he was an apocalyptic messianic prophet, right? So if that's the Jesus you want, then that's the Jesus you're going to have. And depending on how you want to craft your Jesus, Jesus was everything from a pacifist to a warmonger, depending on which text you want to read. Did Jesus tell the disciples to go out and buy swords before the Last Supper? He did. He told them.
He did. Yeah.
Sell their coke and buy weapons, which in of itself was an act of tradition in of itself because they weren't allowed to possess weapons. The Jews had been conquered by the Romans.
That's what happened to Gavin's pants. He sold his pants for a weapon.
Right, but I mean, these are the kind of things that
you gotta do.
If you wanted a military Messiah, you could find it within the New Testament scriptures. If you wanted a pacifistic Jesus, you could find that within the New Testament. You can have whatever Jesus you want if you look hard enough.
Jesus didn't get to marry; he got murdered first.
And do you know why, Pat? When you're at the cafeteria, you can pick whatever you want.
You can.
Kumbaya, my Lord. Kumbaya.
I want Jello.
Well, and I agree.
Sugar-free.
I think that's why I find it very interesting. I find Christianity one of the most interesting phenomenons within within the history of the period I study. How they took so much and blended it.
So, like, for the other face, like, I know, like, not everybody believes in Jesus, obviously, but can the same be true of, like, the Quran?
Well, the Muslims believe Jesus was a prophet. They believe he's a prophet.
Yeah. Yep.
So they actually claim a certain level, if you want to call it divinity or authority through Jesus. They believe Jesus was another prophet that preceded Muhammad, and that Christians are confused and falsely worship him as a god.
Right.
In fact, it's how you PR it. It's the Mormons technically say that Jesus is a prophet, and the Muslims technically say that Jesus is a prophet. The Mormons lean heavier on we're Christians, not a third. The Muslims lean harder on the we're a third generation.
The Mormons believe Jesus and Satan were brothers.
And I will say this with one of my very, very good friends recently converting to Islam. I've been doing a lot of research and a lot of time investment, in just trying to figure out how the fuck we got here, right? And like oh, you can't see it. I'm not on camera. I turned around again. I have my two Qurans. One is the English, and one is the English and the original text. And I'm going through it. And here's one of the biggest separations. The two separations I'll give the two religions or beliefs is, first, one thing Christianity has on Islam so far, and really digging into my research, is the Bible has a book, right, that they go by. Islam has the Quran, and they have the Hadiths, and then there's another one that's slipping my mind right now.
The Surah.
Really? There's another? Oh yeah.
Yeah. And some of especially the Hadiths are kind of like trying to sugarcoat what Muhammad did, and make it a little more easier to digest, get around it. So I will give Christianity that, as they have a book.
They have the Torah.
Yeah.
The Zabur.
That's the first 5 books, the Pentateuch.
The Jews have something oddly similar to the Muslims. It's
The
different,
Talmud,
but
yeah.
the Jews have the Torah, which is what became the Old Testament, and then they have the Talmud, which is a bunch of rabbis argue. That also gets the Jews into some messy
rabbinical
stuff,
commentary.
Too.
It's just rabbinical commentary.
I meant your current day Christianity, what we see in the United States anyway. That they have a book, that they go to for the most part. Now on the flip side, as far as attempting to convert people to their religion or the belief, this is where I'll tell you, now watching and listening and having conversations on both sides, and why the Muslims are running circles around the Christians, is because of this. They start with the philosophical argument, and they don't even necessarily come out and tell you, hey, we're going to talk philosophy, right? Because that's not what you do when you're coming trying to sell somebody something. You don't say, this is what I'm selling you. They're not going to do that. But they, behind a cloak or a mask, they start with the Kalam argument, and they use that to take you to a there's a necessary being, there's a necessary originator, and they take you to that. Then they say, okay, now we've brought you to theism, right? And we've got to the point of theism where there needs to be a necessary being. There needs to be a creator, so to speak. Then what they do is they start to then chisel out all of the other bullshit. So you go through evangelical Christians or whatever, boom, boom, boom. Then what you end up with 9 times out of 10 from all the research I'm doing is you end up with either Islam or Judaism, because they're the closest together. Then they just start to drill down on why Islam and Allah makes more sense than Yahweh. and that's what they do.
Can I add on to that? Well, I agree with everything that Oz just said. In fact, they remind me of the precepts. Like, they're like, what? Allah? Did we say Allah? No one said Allah. We're talking about
necessary
a creator over
being.
here. Necessary being. And all this other stuff. And not only that, but unlike the Christians who we consistently make fun of because they schism all over the place and eat each other, the Muslims are on point. Like, it's Sunnah and it's Shia. And if you're on Team Sunnah, doesn't fucking matter. We're all in this. You're in the Brotherhood. Let's get the others in here on the Brotherhood. There is no like giants. Yeah.
It's a little more complicated than that, but not super much.
Amy,
I can feel the love bombs. I can feel the love bombs in the other direction. Man, it must be nice to convert.
I will close my part with this, and I'll shut up, and you guys can talk. But over the last 4 weeks now, 5 weeks since my buddy, converted, and having multiple conversations and learning more. Amy, what you just shared is exactly right. Now, it is a little more complicated. That I will agree with James.
Yeah,
it is a little more complicated that, but in the same token, it's not. And the reason I say this is because whether it's 2, 4, or 6, and I think the most I've heard is 6 different like versions of Islam. Where guess what? We have 30,000
right
denominations within Christianity. So it is, whether it's 2, 4, or 6, it is still so much
way less fractured.
Yeah, to bring somebody to this and convince them via one particular argument, and if you have somebody that will be convinced through, okay, here is this necessary being, and that's all they need to know or at least try to understand to be convinced. Guess what? They hit a home run. They hit a home run because that's all they needed to do was bring them to the necessary being.
Hey, Grumpus.
Now they have a convert.
Yeah, and then they can shoehorn everything else in once they get that door open.
Well, I just wanted to say for the record, the religion of Islam has 4 holy books: the Quran, the Torah, the Zabur, and the Injil.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I kind of, the term was used earlier tonight, and I kind of went, ugh, made a noise, but like Judeo-Christian is the first misnomer that we allow to pass across people's lips in common modern debates as if Judeo-Christian's an actual thing. And it's not. I mean, it's no different than, we say Abrahamic religions, but we have 3 competing religious traditions that when we talk about the Abrahamic faith. Christianity and Judaism are irreconcilable with each other, period. Christianity, Christians go, yeah, but we built upon. Well, in the same way, Islam built upon. So it is disingenuous to a degree that is absurd for Americans to use the term Judeo-Christian other than to cover up their own anti-Semitic history within the United States and try to blend a cultural norm within the United States.
Correct. I think it's also a racial thing.
It's in the vernacular. It's a colloquial term.
But colloquial in what way? It really tries to put parity between Christianity and Judaism that's not there.
Because I think there's some of that is like a racial, ethnic thing as well. Because there are a lot of people, especially on the more conservative side, like and also I guess because of our like political alignment with Israel, we try to other like Islam and other religions, especially since 9/11.
I can tell you why that was created and why it's used. And I'm doing a bit on politically correct words. It is a politically correct word. Here's how it works with Christians and the more liberal someone is, the more they view a Jewish person as someone white. The more conservative the more they view Jews as like a minority. And so what the Christians are doing they're basically like, hey, it's a white minority. We could work with this. And so they have created this term, Judeo-Christian, to try and market like, it's not just that we want creation. The Jews probably want it or some shit too. Probably. And
I
so
would
they
actually
have
argue
created
it's the
this
opposite.
term to...
I would
What do
actually
you
argue
mean?
it's the opposite, because this is actually a thing that I've talked
The
about with
opposite
Jay,
in what
Amy,
way?
where conservatives actually try to, like, ever since I think it was like the 80s, like basically Jewish people became white to the GOP, and in America.
Yeah, they're a white minority, or
so
that's
it's-
what they view them
so
as.
it's
They're
it's
like,
not the
yay, white
liberals that are
minority.
doing that. It's
Well,
the conservatives that are more like,
I don't think I said it was the liberals.
from a
I think you
religious
did, 'cause
perspective,
you might have flip-flopped it then, because I thought you said like the conservatives were the one who were like viewing them as
I
like
would
the
say
other.
the liberals, generally speaking, view the more liberal you are, the more you view the Jews probably as white and not a minority, and more like the majority. And the more you are a GOP someone, the more you're more like a conservative, the more they tend to
I
view the
disagree.
Jews as a
It's
minority.
actually different because
I'm going to invoke history. In the 1930s, American policy turned Jews away pre-Holocaust. Post-Holocaust was some general acceptance of Jews in larger numbers immigrating to the United States, but Jews were still seen largely as other. We have a history of anti-Semitism in the United States, but we didn't want to be classified as anti-Semitic following World War II, particularly with what we saw happening in Europe with the Nuremberg trials and the fact that we had anti-Semitic elements within our own government. So America adopted a pro-Jewish stance. In order to identify themselves as being pro-Jewish, we invented this word Judeo-Christian. But what do Christians, particularly evangelicals, view Jews as? They see them as Christians in waiting to be saved at the second coming, that there's these imperfect people who
converts, future converts. Yeah.
Right. So again, it's patronizing. They don't embrace the fact that Christianity has heavy anti-Semitic overtones since its founding. I mean, anybody who can read a fucking history book can just read anything about history of Europe, and you'll see how Jews were marginalized and persecuted.
Yeah,
and that's part of how Israel even came to be as we know it, correct? Because wasn't Israel a lot of people who fled Europe because of the history with World War II?
Well, it was the demand for a Jewish state.
Yeah.
It was
a deal with
my joke.
the
The
UK.
Jewish savior is the United Nations because they fulfilled the prophecy. They are the ones who created a Jewish state, thus making them the savior.
Yeah, I would say, the conservatives definitely, other, in at least the political conservatives here in America, they kind of, they're the ones who are like, I was talking with Jay. He's a good friend of mine. They're a good friend of mine who is ethnically Jewish. And, even like their uncle is he basically almost had Sean Spicer's position, but he's a gay Jewish man. So the GOP is kind of the ones that are more like bringing, Jewish people, trying to whiten them up, trying to, oh, well, you're white enough for us to try and pander to you for your vote.
They're more pro-Israel in terms of politically.
But I see,
at least in terms of military aid.
Yeah. And what I see more on the leftist side is that there's actually a lot of people that are, very accepting of people who, maybe aren't strictly adherent, people of Jewish background, maybe they celebrate with their family and stuff. But there's also a lot of acceptance towards people being unapologetically Jewish too, wearing their yarmulke, being just very chill in general, acknowledging, differences, because there's a general atmosphere of tolerance. And now, while I will say I have seen some anti-Semitic comments and stuff, I don't think anybody is perfect, and I can say like there's probably, anti-Semitic leftists and, very accepting and open conservatives. We can't just pin everybody 100% in one box or the other. But just from what I'm seeing, like it's, people who are culturally Jewish or religiously Jewish, like there's a little bit more acceptance of your, being different. Same with like Muslims. I see way more acceptance and tolerance towards, Muslims on that half of the spectrum. But it's a complicated issue, but yeah, I wouldn't say like the conservatives are the ones who are like, super, I think they're the more of the ones where it's like Judeo-Christian. They're trying to cater to them.
Because the reality is Jewish communities in the United States now have a certain amount of political and social standing and acceptance that they didn't have 60 years ago, 70 years ago. But again, then we get into the question again of ethnicity and religion. One is not necessarily should be conflated with the other. I can be respectful of Jewish culture, but then I paint all religions with the same brush. Their cultural projections, and I'm not a religious person. So again, you can be labeled anti-Semitic for being critiquing a religious practice, right?
And we are.
That's what happened in James and I's debate versus Smokey. Is that I'm with you, Pat. I just view all religions in one bucket. It's like sometimes
we're all wrong.
And sometimes I know atheists and other theists. Every once in a while, they want to have like, but this is the real bad one. I'm like,
they're all bad.
Yeah.
Because the moment you do that, exactly, then they it almost clips your wings to criticize all of them. So the easiest way is just to go, do you have evidence for this one? No. Do you have evidence for this one? No. I'm going to ask you, the third guy behind me, do you have evidence? No. Okay, yeah. So,
well, I think the best debate about interreligious debates is when a Jewish rabbi, a Catholic priest,
and a Calvinist,
and a Calvinist and an imam debate whose version of God, interpretation of God is correct. Yep. That's what I love to watch. And then once you find out who the winner of that debate is, pick a winner, then have the atheists go in there and cut their legs out from underneath them. Because
that's what I'm working on our channel.
That would be awesome. Because
I've been constructing a 2-1-2-1-2 debate with like progressive Christians, your traditional Christians, and then Calvinists, and then we'll get into it.
Like Oz, I always ask a Christian when I debate a Christian, particularly I do it academically, so I try to stay off YouTube, but I'm thinking about venturing on. I ask them, what kind of Christian are you? And they go, what do you mean? I'm like, okay, are you a Nicene Orthodox observing? What do you mean Nicene Orthodox? Like the Nicene Creed of 325 or the later 380 Creed.
Which councils do you subscribe to?
Yeah, which councils do you subscribe to? Because as far as if you don't subscribe to those versions of Christianity, you're not a Christian. And I can say that because it's demonstrable within history.
Yeah.
Because this is why I'm a Unitarian Universalist.
Yep.
Right. But a universal Unitarian is not a Christian in the 5th century. You're not. You're a heretic. So take your Christianity and go out the door because you're not a Christian. And then
shots fired.
Right. I'm not making that argument. I'm just saying that's how you
let Sunflower make that argument for you.
Especially
he'd love to call me a heretic.
If there's anyone that is not and was never a real Christian, that was Bird. He can't answer a fucking question to save his goddamn life.
That's right.
Well, Oz, what I told you is true. I was raised. My dad's Greek Orthodox. His mom was Greek Orthodox, so that's how he was raised. My mom was Lutheran, and I went to Lutheran school. And I actually went at 19. Was going to enter like youth seminary. Right, I was thinking about not being a pastor, being a youth minister. Yeah, Lutheran. And I went to a summer training program where you have to read.
Was it evangelical or the LCMS?
Missouri Synod.
the more conservative one.
Right. So my mom was evangelical, but I ended up going to Missouri Synod Seminary program.
I went to a LCMS elementary school.
So we were required to read one of Luther's original works in the German. So I was late showing up, so I went to the library. All the copies of the easy stuff was pulled out, so I grabbed the thinnest book I could find from Luther, so I could get out of the assignment as quickly as possible. And it was The Jews and Their Lies, and I read it from cover to cover.
In German?
Well, yeah, I mean, auf Deutsch, yeah. So I mean, it's if you go to, I went to Lutheran parochial school, so you have to learn a bit of German to get through the program. But yeah,
Lickens the chickens.
Lickens the chickens.
So before I jump off, because I do have to go. And I wish Atheist Junior was on here because he listed out the holy books from Islam. What he doesn't realize is the books he listed out with all love and all respect are within the Quran.
The parts of the Quran.
Yeah, those are just parts of the Quran.
Sections, right?
Yeah. So we have the Quran, and then we have the hadiths, and that's it. So you have a small sector of Muslims that are Quran only, and they don't buy into the hadiths. But majority of the Muslims you're going to talk to are Quran and hadiths, and
Shia and Sunni both probably.
And I was about to say the Sunnis are very much like hadith driven. Even before the Quran sometimes. But I just want to make sure we point that out so that we're accurate here.
And the one thing that's interesting about Islam, I know, Oz, I don't want to misidentify you, but you're a mythicist, right?
Hell yeah.
Let's see, and that argument doesn't work. That attack does not work in Islam because we know Muhammad is a historical person.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, did he fly to heaven on a horse? Probably not. And I do find it funny that
no.
Right. When you ask, why did Muslims at the time of Muhammad pray towards Jerusalem instead of Mecca? That always kind of throws them off. And you look at how Islam arose within the historical period it arose. I mean, you had Jewish Arabs, you had Christian Arabs, and you had a competing sect that wasn't accepted by either one of them. And Muhammad started as a pagan, maybe synchronized some Jewish and Christian tradition in, and Islam is the product of that. And I don't think we should think of it as any different than the Jesus movement, really, except it was a little more violent from its inception.
Yeah, it's Islam. Islam is the Bible,
militarily violent, I should say.
It's the Bible remix. It's the remix. Islam.
Me and Oz are working on Amy. We're gonna get her to do mythicist sooner or later.
Well, I think the mythicist argument is hard. I really do. I think when we look at, I think if you approach as Jesus possibly being a historical person, I think as a chimeral person, more than one person blended into a single tradition, I think that's a stronger argument than the single non-existence position, which Jesus is a fully fictional person. I think he's a fictionalized versions of different people.
When you say he's an amalgamation of people,
correct,
I mean,
correct.
It's almost kind of like Ronald Reagan's welfare queen, where I'm pretty sure it was shown that was actually a whole bunch of different incidences kind of blended together into one
anecdotal stories.
Message.
So, and I would classify myself as a soft mythicist, right? So, I mean, I think the mythicist argument holds up under some scrutiny, but I think the biggest problem we have is with historians that they don't actually look at the argument.
Well,
they go, Jesus has always been a historical person. I'm like, is he one person or is he three people? And they go, what do you mean? And I'm like, well,
they'll get there eventually.
Exactly.
And I'm just suspicious of all these evidence.
That's why I classify myself as a rock hard mythicist.
Only thing's rock hard is your head because you can't listen.
No, I
a 9-inch mythicist,
and I would love to see. I would like to see people like Richard Carrier and
yes, Richard Carrier.
There's a couple more people. Man, sorry, my name's slipping me, but I've read a couple. And I think these people are presenting good arguments. I wish Richard Carrier would get a little more academic time, so to speak. I kind of wish people like Bart Ehrman wouldn't be so dismissive of him, because I respect both of them as scholars, right? But
well, and the reason Ehrman's doing that is because he's teaching at a school that still has religious ties, so he can't go all the way. He
is an atheist, though.
He is an atheist.
There's a difference between an atheist
and a mythicist,
and saying Jesus is bullshit. Like,
just remember, kids, it's not about the size of the mythicist; it's how you use it.
Yeah, but Ehrman does. He's not a mythicist. He thinks Jesus possibly exists.
That's what we're saying.
Well,
okay. I thought
Moret only wants
Ehrman is
4-inch
definitely on the
mythicist.
side of historicity. He believes Jesus was a single historical personage in history.
Yeah.
I'm not even that far in my own. I think, again, I can go between Ehrman and Carrier, but I think between them is the answer, that there were several prominent people, one of which was maybe a messianic prophet who got conflated with other people. I've always wondered why there's such synchronicity between the Baptist movement, John the Baptist, and Jesus. Why was an early Christian tradition, why was it so important to bring those two people together within, quote unquote, a gospel context?
And I don't understand.
Right.
I don't understand the evidence that they use for him resurrecting. I'll go back. An empty tomb is not evidence that someone came back from the dead. There is no connection.
Well, it had to go somewhere, Amy. What do you mean? Have you seen the Shroud of Turin?
I was trying to go to bed, and literally I had minimal facts pulled up, because when I jumped in here, I was like, I want to talk Jesus, and I'm going to talk minimal facts. And
he's got mythicism.
But now obviously I'm doxxed. Like there's when you have to, and look, I'm going to say this, and I'm gone. I have to go to bed. I have all my kids at the house tomorrow.
Lies.
What bird?
So you're lying.
In fact,
you said that like 4 times already.
We'll make it official. We're going to make it official. We are going
to have to go to bed.
And Oz can be the one to start us off.
Unleash the mimes.
The mimes, baby. Oz, we have been skeptic Bible studying. We have been talking gender, theology, the whole 9 yards. I hope you had a good time. And what are your final thoughts?
And put the cherry on top with some Jesus.
I just want to know that there's a certain person on the panel just been laughing at me the last 3 minutes. I want to know why. But we'll start with this.
FOCUS. What does that spell?
So hopefully you got that. But thanks
Barely.
for having me on as usual, and I won't even plug our channel. It's all
Tang.
good. The Tang. But
I can't help it.
No, I have to, just because you said it.
Oh.
But why it starts up, the whole thing with the Jesus argument is
Sunflower's worried.
Oh, my little flower. Give Kate a little wink. I love you too, Cass. The whole Jesus thing with the resurrection. So when we get down to the minimal facts, and like when you have to start like putting puzzle pieces together from all of these different places that really don't make sense, Mr. Habermath, just because you do that does not make it true. Like it may convince you, it may give you a little warm tingly feeling in your heart. It might make you feel good on the inside, but it doesn't make it true, right? We have zero evidence that there was a Jesus Christ that died on a cross. We have zero evidence that there is a Jesus Christ that rose after 3 days, and we don't even have any writings or any recordings or any literature, nothing during the actual supposed life of Christ, contemporary accounts that would suggest that this dude actually walked the earth. So you take all those things away, then guess what? You took the whole Bible away. You know, except for a couple cool stories. you took Christianity away because there are no accounts, and I know a lot of people hang their hats on that belief, but sadly, there's just not good evidence. There's not enough good evidence to demonstrate that guy, not an accumulation of personalities or peoples, but that guy existed and did all these things that was divine and was God in flesh.
You'd think within 20 years we could get something within 20 years of his life, but nothing, huh?
No, this is what I think about God.
Here, this guy is a pathological liar.
That's what I think.
I agree. Thank you so very much, Oz. That you're awesome.
Amy's got her heart.
I like make up my own sound bites. I'm like, you just agreed to something terrible. I mean, I love you. Moving right along. Thank you so much very much, Oz.
Amy's heart.
Bringing me over to the mythicist, though Pat is like, I don't know. That might not.
I don't care.
Cats. Oh, I'm in between. I'm more in a solid position, just that he didn't resurrect from the dead, because I think the evidence for the resurrection evidence is just lame. Like I hate to feel hurt. Those gut-wrenching, terrible feelings of lame, but it's just like, look at this tube. There's no one there.
But Amy, it said several women witnessed it, and you wouldn't use women as evidence back in that day unless it just happened that way, right? Because no one would trust a woman.
Yeah, exactly.
Their other line of evidence is, like, would you trust a woman, and would you think that someone lied? It's like, well, I mean, no, but you're saying
believe women, trust women.
The universe, so like, are you basically like, oh come on, believe the creator of the universe? Would they lie? I don't know. That is shitty. That is a lame argument. That is specifically lame. I have no other. There's no body, and would this chick lie? That is the two arguments I've got so far for Jesus.
So you're like Biden. You only believe women when it meets your criteria. Then you don't want to believe women.
How misogynist of you, Amy. Ugh.
I have binders of women, thank you. And we are moving into...
Now we're talking.
Binders of women.
Binders.
Everyone loves political jokes.
She's from Delaware.
I know. Everyone... Biden gave a speech in Wilmington. I'm like, hey, I go to that school. That's crazy. Cassie, we have been Skeptic Bible Study. Focus, Newman. Focus. Skeptic
F-C-U-S.
Bible. I can't even see it. I feel bad. I feel like I'm demonetizing myself, but it's so funny.
Look, you don't need Haley to do it for you.
F-U-C. It's just funny because they are Puritan. I don't know if he's a Puritan, but it's that kind of culture. And so I'm just glad I got to make Darth say fuck us. It's the little things in life. Anyway, Cassie,
you can never take the fuck us away from him. You can never take it away.
That's all great for conservative Christians right there. They say one thing, but then they want to hire you for things for the other.
Listen, Amaretto, F-U-C-U-S for you too.
We have been talking about it was an Exodus somewhere in there, and theology and gender and a whole bunch of fun stuff. I hope you had a fun time. And what are your final thoughts?
Yeah, so I love talking with you all. I'm sorry if I'm like super giddy. Like Atheist Junior is in the chat. Like, I don't know. I'm getting mixed signals because you said I'm a cinnamon roll. It's a good thing. I promise. I like hearing you talk. Same with you, Oz. Like I said, I'm sorry if I was the one who was like laughing at you for 3 minutes straight.
Oz is a donut.
I'm just in a good mood. But But yeah, so I guess I will send off with, listen, if it sounds gay, I'm in.
Woohoo!
So, that's all I can say. If you're super straight, kind of a non-issue. That's, you got some stuff to work on in yourself. And also, trans rights are human rights. Let's not be assholes. Thank you.
Woohoo! Thank you so very much.
Super straight.
Like I said, just gotta transcend straightness.
So straight, you're
Listen,
gay.
I wish this was a rated R stream. I'm telling you what, because Amy, these jokes we were saying earlier to each other, that would be the content.
Save them for backstage.
That's true. It's kind of like that. It's like a PG-13.
Backstage is like the not safe for work area.
I don't know what YouTube's FBI. Are we doing okay? Are we doing okay? We're doing good. Okay. Pat, we have been Skeptic Bible studying on It Was an Exodus. We finished the book of Exodus. I'd say it's a miracle, but it was just English.
Eggs Benedict.
I hope you had a good time. And what are your final thoughts?
Well, I enjoy the Bible study. I'm new to the channel, but I'm really enjoying it. I'm enjoying meeting everybody and engaging both, on issues like, scriptural analysis and just talking about atheism in general. I'm finding it very rewarding, and I just want to thank you and everybody else for coming on and talking, and you for running this channel and keeping the debate going. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks. We love having you on. You bring a good perspective. It's good to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, it's actually nice to have people who are knowledgeable on the Bible.
People who've studied it and,
because I
from
think
an academic standpoint.
This is James multiple time going through it. And I was put in front of Hebrew school, but this is my first time actually reading it.
Yeah, I mean, most of my experience with the Bible was casual, and then until I magically turned to my Sunday school Bible one day and read about Lot's daughters, and incest is not wincest, so I
got a little Games of Thrones really quickly.
But now that we've started to go through it, you're kind of giving it a second thought. You're coming back to this Yahweh God.
I never my thing is I never really thought any religion has it 100% right, which is why I feel okay with Unitarian Universalism, because it's kind of like the cafeteria of all religions anyways. And also atheists and skeptics are welcome in that community, and agnostics, because Unitarian Universalists, it's skepticism and science are celebrated in that community, which I think is a good thing. So yeah, I mean, I don't think I ever really was 100% a Christian. It just never really vibed with me. But, I've kind of taken the position over the years, I kind of view the Bible as Aesop's fables. I don't think it is the word of God. Men wrote that. And Sunflower and everybody else can trash me all they want on that.
They will.
Oh, they will. Yeah, they will.
And to be fair, some of Aesop's fables found its way into the Bible.
Yeah, I mean, I think. Listen, do I think that there's maybe a couple of things you can take from it? Sure, but I will say this: I never realized how much curtains were of such importance to the
colors,
God.
the bells.
He's such a
what about the
fashionista.
pomegranates? You like the pomegranates with the bells? Aren't they cute?
Again, sounds gay. I'm in. What's gayer than?
But incest has to be wincest because it's all over the Bible.
He gives mixed signals. Yahweh's basically we're going to kill those gay people, and then we're going to pick the drapes. We're okay.
Where's my fan when I need it?
Put your girdle on, Aaron Ra. Put your girdle on. Put your little bonnet on. Get ready to sit down on your mercy seat.
And okay, so we are going to move on to Bird, and then we're actually going to do a little bit of a promo, and then we'll finish out with James and I. But Bird, we have been Skeptic Bible studying. I can't even do the I think this is a
Yeah.
Jimmy Kimmel. Is it Jimmy? No, Stephen Colbert does that. There we go.
Give him the bird.
Give him the bird. We have been Skeptic Bible studying on It Was in Exodus. We have finished out the second book of the Bible. We're making it along. These silly atheists have somehow gotten this far. I hope you had a good
Bumbled
time.
our way along.
Blah, 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 blah. And what are your final thoughts?
I always have a good time. This is very entertaining. And for the record, Oz does not know how to listen. So that's all I got to say.
Well, we're glad we could keep you entertained, Bird.
This is fun.
Bibble.
Gotta love the Bibble.
And okay.
Can't get enough Bibble.
Thank you so much, Bird. I promised I would showcase Atheist Jr. As having a promo of Drunken Mr. Batman versus Jump. And so you can watch the full episode of this or the full thing on this on Atheist Jr.'s channel. But here is his little outro.
This is Peter did that for him really well.
I'm sorry.
Okay. That sounds good. If you want to watch the full version of that, you can check that out on Atheist Jr.'s channel. And
logical fallacies with Mr. Batman.
With
Mr. Batman committing every logical fallacy in existence in less than 2 minutes.
If you haven't had enough of arguing with an old white man in your life.
Sir.
I like his I can't do his quote. He has such a good way of saying, like, all right, repent or go to hell. Have a good day.
Oz has that clip.
Such a little.
He's like, I'm not gonna keep casting my pearls before swine. Repent or perish. You're on your way to hell. Have a nice night, sir. Bye.
He says it so quickly and nicely that it gives you the impression that it's almost like he is the Burger King of telling you you're going to hell. Like, you're going to hell. Thank you. You're going to hell. Thank you. You're going to hell. Thank you. It's like, okay. And okay.
Or maybe it's like the guy who tells you like how much sodium you have in your bag of Burger King or Wendy's when Amy goes through. Like, there's 27 grams of trans fat in there and 27 trillion grams of sodium.
I want to say one of my most favorite Simpsons jokes. I don't know why. Homer is like in a giant parka dressed as a woman, and like he is at some restaurant. They're like, I'm sorry, sir, but we don't serve trans fats. And I don't know why, but that is they would never do that joke nowadays. That is like a joke from 10 or 20.
Hey, Homer, what are you doing?
And okay, we're moving right along. I forget what even the context of what there was some reason. But Jace, we have been Skeptic Bible studying. It was an Exodus.
Was a while ago.
I know. We have talked about gender theology. We have talked about the Exodus. We have talked about and we've talked about Jesus, the big J man.
Yeah.
We just went over it all. I hope you had fun, and I hope land us on that plane. Or land the plane.
We made it through Exodus, and we are ready. We're going to launch right into Leviticus very shortly. I think we'll be doing a stream probably tomorrow night. I think it might be time to go back and check on Bob Larson, see what he's been up to lately. That'll be a lot of fun, as if you've seen our last video featuring Bob Larson about aliens and witchcraft demons, or no, was it aliens and another type of demons? Anyway, yeah. So, yeah, great conversation. We got to talk a little Jesus mythicism. We got to do a little New Testament commentary, I guess, looking at some of the Christian doctrines, looking at some of their arguments and theologies. And yeah, great time tonight. Thanks everybody for coming, and we'll see everybody tomorrow. I know I was glad that I came. Were you glad, Amy?
Oh, I think I needed a finisher, so thank you so very much.
Not on the sheets.
Not on the sheets. Oh, God.
Never on the sheets.
And okay. Thank you so very much, James. And with that, I hope you all had a fun time on this episode of Skeptic Bible Study. It was an Exodus where Bedazzle made some fabulous new robes for the priest. The people brought God more stuff, because who doesn't need more stuff?
More girdles.
More girdles. Curious girdles. Oh, my. And we set up a tabernacle worth burning a fire for. I want to thank... I messed up all my little things. I want to thank I want to thank James.
We had
along
Bird.
with our guest hosts, Bird, Pat, Cass, Atheist Jr., and Oz, along with all the lovely people in chat and our awesome mods who make the stream so great. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that all button icon so you can be part of our live streams for YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook. And if you want to help us make more awesome content, feel free to check out our Patreon at patreon.com/Amy Newman. I'm Amy Newman, and we will see you all on the next episode of Skeptic Ball Z.
We out this bitch.
Ramen. Can I get a ramen?
Miso.
F. C.